has nothing to do with pressure from opposition parties, but it follows his discussion with the ANC. Action SA has been calling on Gwamanda to resign, saying he has failed the city. Gwamanda has accused Action SA leader Herman Mashaba of being the one who collapsed service delivery in the city and left it in financial shambles while he was mayor under the DA. The ANC's Dada Morero is tipped to be the next mayor of the city. Gwamanda elaborates.
My resignation is informed by nothing outside of a conversation that was had with the ANC. The same way that the conversation was had in inception, to say we need you to become mayor, and then we will further engage on when a transition will take place. That discussion has happened.
Energy expert and former executive manager of Eskom, Veli Pariachi, says the system is failing the 8 million people who currently do not have access to free basic electricity. This after Electricity and Energy Minister Dr. Kgosientso Ramokgopa revealed that 10 million households qualify for free basic electricity, but only 2 million have access to it. Pariachi reiterates that the qualifying methodology is taking longer than expected.
There's a free basic framework that COCTA has come up with. National Treasury allocates the monies to the equitable share grant to each of the metros of Munich, and they base that on stats from Stat SA for the free basic electricity portion to each Munich. So each Munich and metro gets the monies to allocate for free basic electricity, and at this moment it's 50 kilowatt hours. So the people that should be getting it are seemingly not getting it because of bottlenecks in the system, in the municipality.
Right.
Yes.
The executive director of the Center for Education Rights and Transformation at the University of Johannesburg, Professor June Baum, says they are working with various stakeholders to provide teachers with inclusive training to accommodate left-handed learners. This as the world celebrates International Left-Handers Day on the 13th of August. Professor June was speaking at the launch of the Harmony of Hands program at the University of Johannesburg.
Left-handedness through this program of bringing visibility around it and public awareness around it. It's all about that inclusivity and citizenship and rights. The rights of the child not to be left behind. The rights of the child to be able to obtain what they call the Sustainable Development Goals in all countries. We have those researchers, professors, very skilled people who can provide the kind of training. We've got psychologists in education. We're working across the education faculty, for example, at the University of Johannesburg.
Lastly, South Korea says it's advising car makers to disclose information about batteries in their electric vehicles sold in the country. The government is trying to calm fears over public safety after a series of fires involving electric cars. The BBC's Electra Naismith reports.
The government says disclosure will be voluntary, but it says the information hasn't so far been available to the public and hopes the move will help ease growing consumer concern. This month, an electric Mercedes exploded in an underground car park in Incheon, setting more than 100 cars ablaze and forcing nearby residents to evacuate. Mercedes is among several car companies to have now named the maker of batteries used in their EVs. But experts say while the information gives consumers more choice, without knowing which brands are more prone to fires, it'll do little to improve public safety.
Recapping the top story this hour, the legal team of Murwadi Cholota says it is dismayed with the decision of the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court to decline oral submissions in her bail application. This after the prosecution made its oral response and also submitted the response in writing. Headlines at 3:30 for SAFM News. I am Dino Mutaung.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Gaetan Lords Olympic gold medalist Tatiana Smith and Box make 11 changes as they back youngsters in Perth. More details at 3:30.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet.
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Insurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Oscar and Emmy winner Kevin Costner is John Dutton, a sixth-generation homesteader and devoted father. John controls the largest contiguous ranch in the United States, operating in a corrupt world where politicians are compromised by influential oil and lumber corporations and where land grabs make developers billions. Shifting alliances, unsolved murders, open wounds, and hard-earned respect puts Dutton's property in constant conflict with those it borders, an expanding town, an Indian reservation, and America's first national park. Channel your inner drama with Yellowstone, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
It certainly is the National Pulse. My name's Ashraf Garda. As always, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show that effectively reflects the mood of the nation, the pulse of the nation, and you, as we reflect on it, you play a major role in determining what is it that just drives the nation's pulse every single day. Now, to do that, the best way, one is listening, which is great. Tell your chummies you're listening as well, wherever you may be. You can send a picture wherever you are, saying, hey, I'm hooked into the show. Just send a picture with your with your dial locked into SAFM, which is just fantastic if you do that. You can call in 086 000 2032. Whatever it is that you wish to get off your chest. And then voice notes, 0614 104 107. You can also use that same WhatsApp number to send out a text message. And don't forget, you can also use social media on Twitter or the X platform, as well as on Facebook, and share pictures of yourself. Tell me where you are, what you're doing, what are the big issues you wish to raise. It's a hectic day, I can tell you now. Well, here's a question. Let me put this question to you right away as part of our daily vote line. You may be aware already now that the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, the mayor Kabelo Gwamanda, in fact, his last day as the mayor will be Friday morning. He's resigned. So here's the question to you. Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda resigns as the mayor of the city of Joburg. You say what? You say yay or you say nay? Give me an answer, just yes, no, yay or nay, and explain your opinion as well. And the best way to do that, you can tweet it out, but also just comment on the WhatsApp text messages that we have. Talking about WhatsApp, one thing as well, you know that we're now growing the National Pulse WhatsApp channel. If you wish to be part of that channel for alerts every single day, just WhatsApp us, just say I'm in, and you'll certainly get there. Right, so there's lots to talk about, including the resignation of the mayor. There's also lots to talk about, including the unemployment rate going higher once again. Ouch. There's more to talk about, including My Vote Counts and the issue around party political funding. And there's more. You've heard it on the news as well. Today, left-sided individuals have their special global day in the sun. But I'll tell you what, of all the people in the sun, now the Olympic team, or some members of South Africa's 148 plus, I think, Olympic team, they've arrived in the country. They're probably going to come in drips and drabs, different flights. And one of them, certainly one of the shining stars, is a silver medalist who's a lightie because he's still in school, right? And I'm talking about Bayanda Walaza. Well, I'll tell you what, the good news is we'll be chatting to him, and it comes up next. Listen in.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, so we've had conversations about, in fact, last night I got home and my TV sort of defaults to the Olympic Games, because that's what it's been like for the better part of 2 and a bit weeks. And suddenly it was another world. You're all just lost, okay? But it does give me an opportunity last night, that is, to reflect on the magic of the entire Olympic Games, and certainly the magic of the South Africans when they do well. To the point, and I must say this, I sound bitterly patriotic compared to others, When South Africans have finished second, I don't even know who finishes first. When they finish fourth, I don't even know who finishes third, second, and first. I just look at the South Africans first. When we don't compete, I think it was Safian Hassan who won the gold medal in the marathon, then yes, I keep an eye on the overall winners. So it's that sort of thing, okay? But certainly one of the people who's brought us tremendous joy is Bayanda Walaza. Did say so. He's a lighty, he's still in school, a grade 12 learner. I think he's going to do his prelims now. But very importantly, he is a silver medalist, part of this amazing, fabulous four, winning the silver medal in the 4x100 meter relay. So we are going to chat to him now. Bayanda, good chatting to you. Hi.
Hello, sir.
How's it, man? Listen, it's not just me, you got myself, Ashraf Garda, together with Tumi in Kapela. So you got two voices because we felt you that important. We're going to give you double the attention. Is that okay with you?
No problem. I don't mind.
Yeah. Listen, I want to go back to right at the end of the race when you guys won silver, and you said something on video about what's going to happen to you when you get back to school, right? Can you repeat that, because I just think it sounded so good, man.
I said they were going to scream. They were going to...
Well, we're going to scream now. We can all say, yeah, we certainly have you around here. Listen, so what I want to ask you is this, right? Yes. And I used the word lighty twice, and I said it very intentionally, okay? Right?
Yes.
You go to the Olympic Games relatively unknown. People in athletics knows you, obviously, but we don't know you, right? And you come back, and suddenly, in the space of if not even in 2 weeks, in the space of one night, you become an absolutely recognized figure in South Africa. What's going on in your mind?
For me, it's still a lot, because I didn't also expect it to be this way, you see. Because me, I expected already, okay, they'll be excited that the South African got a medal. But now it looks like they're focusing also on the names, the people who are running. And that is, it's kind of having a lot of impact in my life, because now everywhere I'm going, people are greeting, others are hugging, they're on pictures. But I'll just get used to it.
I can only imagine all the attention that you're getting right now. But good afternoon to you. Ashraf started at the end when you got that medal, right? I want us to go back to the beginning, because obviously you came in to replace Benjamin, and for you, how did you take it, knowing that snap, now I'm going to be part of the relay team, and how did you deal with the pressure leading to the race?
I would say I've learned to contain the pressure, because it wasn't my first time running international with those people. It was not my first time. So it started at Bahamas when we were running to qualify for Olympics at Bahamas. That was when I started running with AK, all these big guys. So from there, I told myself that okay, because of I'm here, that means I'm also one of these gents. So I must not think that I'm young and all of that. If I made it where they are, that means I'm also there. So that's how I usually keep on my being humble. Just being humble of it and be like, you know what, I'm also one of them. And that's how I keep on motivating myself about it.
I'm sure Akani is the oldest, or he's your mentor. And I was just reading about some of the things that you guys were saying afterwards in terms of you did it for him. I'd love to know, what did he tell you guys ahead of that race?
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry, can you please repeat it?
I'm saying that I saw what you guys were saying in terms of winning it for Akani Simbini, and obviously you look up to him as one of your mentors. What did he say to you guys ahead of that race?
Okay, before we run.
Yes.
So, to me first, you usually say this to me, come to me and be like, boy, athletics is your life. You're always doing this every day. So this is what you do every day. So you don't need to be scared about it. And also, he said, before we ran, immediately when we were going in, they was like, boys, just don't forget to enjoy this moment. And we were like, okay, yeah, let's go and get it.
And are you enjoying this moment so far?
Hey, for now, it's still a lot. I'm still generating it. I'm still trying to control it for now. But yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
So, it's just to give us a sense of how things change with you, right? And we'll talk about the race proper just now. About a few weeks before the Olympic Games, just before you guys left, your chairman of the board at Curo, Temba Baloyi, and you would know Temba, right?
Yes.
He messaged me to say, Ashraf, one of our guys are going to the Olympic Games. And I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's one of those things, right? Then come the silver medal, I contact the same chairman. I'm like, Temba, that's your guy, and all I'm trying to show you is just how in the space of a couple of days things change completely. So perhaps here's the thing to ask you, right? At the time when you guys were in the starting blocks, ready for that race, right? As the world, we obviously want you to do well, but there's nobody's got the right to win anything. Every other country is competing for the same medals, right? Yes. What was your state of mind when you were in the starting blocks, considering that you were the first runner of the 4 and you had to give us a pretty good start to keep us in the race?
Okay, so for me, when I was in that block, I was like, you know what, I'm doing this for my for the people, for the country. So at this point, I was not putting myself first, but I was putting the whole country in front of me. I was like, you know what, I'm doing this for the whole country. So if I mess this thing up, I'm not messing me, but I'm messing the whole country. So I was like, you know what, let me just go and do this for them. And then also, I was like, for me to be composed and not listen to everything else, I was praying, even though it doesn't show, but I was praying just to focus on my prayer, so that I don't listen to people around, and just to avoid what was going on around. Because like the noise was like, if you were not strong mentally, that noise could break up your race, like could run really bad because of the noise and all of that, the focus. So I just prayed just to keep on my focus, to focus on what I'm doing.
So explain the being strong mentally, because I think of the example of a footballer, takes a penalty in training, and like a penalty shootout, so in training, and that's not the same thing as taking a penalty in a match to win a cup tournament with 80,000 people watching you. I would think the same thing. I mean, you could run on the track practicing, but when you've got the expectation of 80,000 people in the whole world watching you, it's a different story completely. So what then is your mental preparation? How do you keep yourself switched on, completely focused, knowing you've only got one task on hand, and the task is not worrying about the autograph hunters and others. It's about simply completing the race to the best of your ability. What do you do?
For me, like I have prayer, like I pray inside. So as I pray, I just make sure I just focus on my prayer. I use prayer as to avoid whatever is going on around, because I put God first. So I must focus on God. So at that moment, I just pray just to get rid of all the noise and all of that. That's how I focus on my mentally. But we're not the same as other people, because me, I don't like it. Like if I hear a lot of crowd somewhere, somehow, if I feel like the race is not that hard, sometimes the crowd can go through your head and you enjoy the race jog and all of that. But others, they enjoy it. Like when people are giving them that vibe, some other people take it as motivation to run. But me, I think if I listen to them too much, I listen to the people, it just goes through my mind. So I just pray to avoid it.
Okay, I'm sure Tumi's got something to say about that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, let's add your coach into the equation. Obviously, we know that Curo is the one that sponsored him to go with you to the Olympics. How was it having your coach there, and how's that relationship between you and your coach, especially when you are now about to run a very important race?
I say for me and coach, he's not just a coach to me at this moment, because he serves as a father also, because he also goes through, he knows when I'm not good, he knows when I'm in a good shape, like, and he knows me by now, like he knows everything about me. And also, this is the secret that we have, me and him, we just discovered it. I perform much more better when he is around, because I'm much more calmer when he's around me. So he just gives me tips to, okay, be calm, do this. So when he's not there, somehow I just panic by seeing like big people when they just pass, when they're doing something, and then I start panicking a little bit. But if he's there, it's easy for me to be calm, collected, and just be myself.
All right, so it's interesting you say that, Bayanda, because I do know that, I mean, it's not part of the deal from SESCOC to take the school coach with you on the Olympic Games, and I am aware that your school Curo made sure that they send your coach with you to be with you all along that entire journey, right? I take it when you found out that they were going to send your coach with you, how did you feel when you were told that your coach is going along?
We were planning it, to tell the truth. Me and coach were like, you know what, you need to go, because it was not something that just came up. We were like, we really need to do this, because I think also coach and the school, they had to do a proposal to the Curo Holdings so that they will allow it to happen. You see, so this was the thing that we wanted. We wanted this to happen because coach also knows me that he needs to be there for me to be myself most of the time, especially when I'm with big guys there. So coach was like, you know what, boy, I'll make sure I try by all means to go there with you. And also the Cures Odin family, they were like, we'll push it so that it happens.
Right. I mean, I know that also your mom is one of your biggest supporters. What did she say when you got that silver medal? I'm sure you spoke to her. I'm sure she was the first person you spoke to after you won.
Yes, like she was emotional because she called, and then I just told her, because she was too emotional on the phone, and I just told her, Ma, I'll call you later. Just calm down. And then, yes, but yeah, she said a lot of good words. Like she was so excited about this. She was even excited more than I was about it.
I can imagine. Have you already spoken to some of your schoolmates yet?
Wait, just hold it. No, I need to interrupt you. Okay. Bayanda, wait here. Hold it. I believe your mom is with you, man. Right?
I think he's here. Can I?
Yeah, we want to speak to her too. Okay. Yeah, bring her on.
Let me call her.
Yeah.
The family.
You see, there we are.
Oh,
if
I
you tuned in late,
there.
never be late on the show. It's the National Pulse. We reflect the pulse of the nation. So we'll talk up to 3:30. We'll chat to Bayanda Walaza, which means we're going to speak like 10 times the amount of time it takes for them to run one race. That's how long we're talking, because it needs to be doing that, right? Of course, as you know, he's a silver medalist, winning the silver medal in the 4x100 meter relay. Fabulous race.
He's out. She went out.
Oh, she went out. Okay, well, maybe she'll send us a voice note, okay? Can you do that?
Okay.
Will she send us a lekker voice note later on that we can play for the whole nation to listen to, all right?
Okay, no problem.
Just for the National Pulse. We call you the National Pulse. Okay, you wanted to talk about your friends, right?
Yes, I wanted to find out your friends, your schoolmates. What are they saying to you? Have you received tons and tons of messages from your schoolmates?
Yes, I've received them when I was still there, that side. So, and then, those ones, they were still congratulating me and all of that. So today, I just saw them there at the airport, and then I decided to just switch off my phone. I was like, hey, let me switch off my phone, let me switch off data, and so I haven't spoken to them today.
I can only imagine how special it is coming back to all your schoolmates and how they'll be cheering you on. I'm sure you're looking forward to it. And I know that you opted to skip your prelims to go to the Olympics, and it has paid off. How are you going to focus on your exams now?
That's pretty easy, because what I like about Curo is the one supporting school, because they were the ones who also motivated me to be like, don't panic, because I talked to some of the teachers when I was there at France. I was asking, ma'am, I didn't do anything, like I didn't open a book, and they're like, you know what, just relax, calm down. When you come back, we'll just make sure that you're on point.
Well, maybe I'm just thinking now, if a teacher spoke to you and they said to you, Bayanda Walaza, you're at the Olympic Village, have you been studying? And if you said yes, they would have said, we are disappointed in you. How can you study? Because it shows you are lacking focus on the main task at hand, which is to get a silver medal.
The problem is I was studying, but the studying was not as strong as it must be. But I was studying, I don't know. Well, I checked the books, I checked the things on Teams, but the focus was not that 100%, because there was a lot that was going on there.
Well, there you are. Listen, I want to ask you this. I mean, so take me back to where it started for you. You know, for everybody, there's a moment in their lives when you're a young boy and you're playing different things. I know you enjoyed soccer as well, I understand, right? But there's a moment in your life when you're still a young boy and you realize, in this sport, I'm not just good, I'm really, really good. But this is still as a school kid, right? I know you're still in school. When was that moment when you felt that I can do something about this, man? This can be a career for me.
Okay. There was a point where, when I was in grade 5, grade 5, man. I was good with sports, every sport, soccer and all of that. And then it happened that my father passed away in grade 5, and then so I was not like okay emotionally and all of that. So my mom made a plan to go to the social workers, and then the social workers came to me and they were like, you know what, I think we discovered something about you. You see, they saw like I use sports as a therapy of healing. Yes. You see, and then when I was grade 7, I went to a secondary school here at Katlehong, and it's the best school. At that time it was the best school in Katlehong, and then I went there for 3 weeks, and it was not nice because they didn't have athletics. But there was soccer and all of that. They didn't have athletics, and then people were amazed when I told my mom that I want to go back to grade 7 just to get a proper high school. And then then that's when I meant when I go back to grade 7, then I passed. I got a scholarship bursary for into. That's when I started seeing, okay, you know what, my passion is like on running, because I got the bursary with athletics, because I also went to School of Excellence to trial for soccer.
In soccer, I believe that, yeah.
It didn't go well.
Yeah. Well, soccer's loss is Olympic Games gain, yeah. But listen, I know Tumi wants to say something as well before we wrap up in a few minutes, but here's a quick one to you now, right? So, amongst the athletes of the world, who's the one that you most admire, firstly? Who's that person?
For me, people don't see this guy a lot. Like they taking him as a small guy. Akani Sindini, that guy is one of the best athletes in the world right now. For me, it's him.
I agree. I think even with me, who doesn't know much about athletics, I look at him and I just admire his commitment and resilience over 3 Olympic Games. So here's the last thing before I get Tumi to jump in again. So what about you now? You know, in many ways you've got the baton in your hand. At some stage, Akina is going to retire, and you're going to take over because you've got the record as the youngest teenager, the fastest teenager in the world, right? I know that. So at some stage, the baton is going to be in your hands permanently. Now, how big, how fast do you want to go? How much do you want to achieve?
The sky is the limit. I go for whatever I have to see. I just go for everything at this moment.
And then in terms of the message that you want to send out to other young athletes after what you've achieved, what do you want to say to them?
I'll say to them they must respect the OP, they must respect their parents, and they must be humble. They must not be easily influenced by things, because out here is not nice. We have friends who are smoking, we have friends who are doing drugs, who are not controlling, they don't control themselves. And also, the important one is that age doesn't say anything. You can accomplish anything you want just by believing and trusting and also loving it. So age is not a number. They must not let people tell them that you are young, you can't do this. They must just go for the sky. Sky is the limit. They can also do it.
You see, sky is the limit. I wonder if he played he had designs on playing for Mamelodi Sundowns one of his days in his life. But that's all history now, yeah. So listen, here's the last thing from me, right? We're on to news time now. I did tell you earlier on, and I'm saying this with choosing my words carefully. A week ago, you were a no-name brand, okay? Yes. Now, you are not a no-name brand any longer. Bayanda Walaza, it's got such a great ring to it, right? So when we say Bayanda Walaza, and as you said on that video, the whole school's going to crazy. My thought to you is this here. When we say Bayanda Walaza now, and the nation looks up to you, and they expect, and they say, that's a champion, you tell them what?
Yeah. I don't know.
You're out of words, man. Own
it.
All right, listen. You can think about the words. Get your mum to send the WhatsApp, right? Please do. We want to play your mother's WhatsApp on the show just now. Tumi, do you want to give a last word there?
Man, I just want you to continue on making us proud. We're super, super proud of you, and I can't wait to see how you're going to grow in athletics as a whole, okay?
All right, and tell you what,
Thank you.
Final thought, Bayanda, when I go home now, I'm going to tell my family, guess what? I was hanging out with a champion for 25 minutes, okay? So, and I appreciate it, thanks to you. Okay, your time is up. You better go back to studying, right? You've got a prelim to write. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There we are.
Thank you for having me.
That was fascinating. No, there we are. It was sort of words at the end, like, okay, Bayanda Walaza, hanging out with the champion, indeed. Let's get the news headlines now, just gone 3:30.
Thank you. Well, the headlines at 3:30. I am Dino Motaung. Good afternoon. The ANC in Johannesburg says it has resolved to forward the name of its regional chairperson and current finance MMC Dada Morero for the position of the executive mayor of Johannesburg. In other news, the SOS Support Public Broadcasting Coalition has welcomed the return of the SABC bill to Parliament, and Iran has dismissed calls from Western countries to refrain from taking action against Israel as concerns grow about a possible imminent attack on Israel. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. In Midrand, Old Johannesburg Road has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions between Olifantsfontein Road and Samrand Road. And New Road has roadworks with one lane open on the ramp to the N1 South, so you are to expect delays. In KZN, the M7 is roadworks with traffic restrictions towards the Bel Air Road, Wakesley Road junction. The N3 westbound has a stationary vehicle reported after the Pavilion Shopping Centre exit, and Bayhead Road has truck congestion reported towards and from the Bluff. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M3 Philip Hossano Drive outbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavongo Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Duming Khapele.
Chamigo, do you really want to do sport after just chatting to Red Sport for 25 minutes, man?
Too much excitement, and there was a lot of excitement actually today at the OR Tambo, because alongside Bayanda, Olympic gold medalist Tatiana Smith was welcomed home to a hero's welcome today after a great showing at the Paris Olympics. And Smith, as we did mention earlier on, and some of Team South Africa's athletes arrived at OR Tambo today. Now, Smith is the country's most decorated Olympian by winning gold and silver medals before announcing her retirement.
It is a bittersweet pill to swallow, but I am finished. This is probably maybe one of the last times I'll be wearing the green and gold. But yeah, just being able to walk out at the end of the Olympics with the flag, just what it meant of representing our country. It's had its challenges, and I think we all face it. And it's not a perfect goal, but like she says, is that we are champions, and that even though the midst of what we are facing, that we still rise above, speaks a lot. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit. I think especially when we walk into the rooms where you're standing in rooms with Americans and the people that have everything, we immediately put ourselves below, and we in a mindset of like we're inferior to them. And I think we shouldn't be, and I think we came here to show you that we don't have to step into those rooms to feel that way, because we deserve it just as much as they do, and we can do it with the little that we have. So obviously we want to encourage that there is more done into sports, and that we get more people and more representation into the teams. It is definitely something important, and I'm grateful that I'm on the other side now as a retired athlete, and I'm here to have a voice for athletes as well.
Well, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, was also there, and he has vowed to use Smith's expertise to unearth more swimmers like her.
And everybody is free to make his opinion heard, but I think it's the right thing to do. because for players at that age it's important.
It's a promise I'm making here that we are going to find the Tatianas in the rural area. It's a promise I'm making here that we are going to find the Tatianas in the rural area. She might retire from professional swimming, but she's not retiring from helping us look for the Tatianas in Soweto, in Guguletu, in El Rado Park, in Matatiele, in Kriersdorp. We are a sporting nation, and sports unite us. And what we owe you, and your husband, and your family, we can't describe it. Because you have once again brought this country together at a time when it looked like we might be going apart.
Well, more of Team South Africa's athletes, including silver medalist or relay squad, arrive later on today. And they're not the only ones back home. Botswana's Tebogo Tsile has also touched down in Botswana. Even President Mokgweetsi Masisi granted the country a half day to celebrate the 21-year-old and also his relay teammates. And perhaps just to give you a glimpse of the celebrations in Botswana. So you can hear all the excitement also in Botswana. It's not only in South Africa.
But I just love that sound. I mean, it's just. Can we play that sound again?
Sure.
Can we play it again? I want to play that sound again, just so that we get like the double version, double track, right?
Literally, the streets of Botswana are filled. They went and packed one of the biggest stadium there in Botswana to welcome Tebogo back. And I must say, he does deserve it. He did really make the country proud and Africa as a whole proud. In rugby, Morne van Berg and Ruan Norkia will earn their first starts in the Springbok team that has 10 changes to the starting lineup for the Castle Lager Rugby Championship clash with the Wallabies at the Optus Stadium on Saturday. Salman Murat will captain the team from lock, while regular captain Siya Kolisi is one of the 9 players from Saturday's win who is rotated. Marco Verstappen is promoted from the bench to take Kolisi's number 6 jersey, while the only players retaining starting places are Cheslin Colby, Jesse Creel, Sasha Feinberg, Mgomezulu, Aldrich Lowe, and Peter Steph Dutoit, who moves from lock to flanker. Now, the changes to the team were motivated by Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus' desire to continue finding the balance between building momentum and expanding squad depth. In cricket, England will be monitoring the status of Chris Woakes ahead of the 3-test series against Sri Lanka after the all-rounder withdrew from the 100 due to injury. Now, Woakes has been named in England's test squad and was also set to play in the remaining 2 group stage matches for Birmingham Phoenix in the 100-ball tournament. Test skipper Stokes suffered a suspected hamstring injury while playing in the 100-ball tournament and is doubtful for the opener against Sri Lanka on the 21st of August at Old Trafford. England's squad depth would be tested if they lose both all-rounders for the Sri Lanka series. On that note, it's a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour.
Do we have anything else to say? I don't think so. Just reflect and relax.
And beaming with pride.
There we are.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Zonga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Paying your TV license means that you can tune in to the Expresso Morning Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays right here on S3. Enjoy our entertainment, recipes, and important current affairs and updates. All of this for less than 74 cents a day or 265 Rand for an entire year. for super fast, secure and convenient payment from any device. Go on to tvlrc.co.za and click on the Fast Pay button for payment in under 3 minutes. Make a difference with Expresso and TV licenses and pay yours.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
So after the euphoria of the South African Olympic team getting home and that wonderful conversation with Bayanda Walaza, which you can listen as a podcast, so please listen to it. Go to the website safm.coza. Also, you can catch it on if you just download the SABC Plus app as well. Okay, and then just share it with your friends, your chummies. I mean, really, it's inspirational stuff. So after that, let's get to the reality of South Africa's unemployment. At least we know that Bayanda Walaza, is not unemployed. I mean, that's really, he's made something for himself. Risenga Maluleke is with me, the Statistician General, and of course, Head of Stats SA. And that is after news that the latest announcement that the official unemployment rate has now increased from 32.9% in the first quarter to 33.5% in the second quarter. So let's then chat to the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. Good chatting to you. You're live on the National Pulse.
Let me greet you, Ashraf, and let me greet the SAFM listeners.
Thank you. You would also, as you greet us, say that acknowledge my pulse is racing for two reasons. One, because I just chatted to an Olympic silver medalist, but also because the pulse are racing for the wrong reasons because of that high unemployment rate. What do we do next with those numbers? They're just going up and up.
Well, for starters, our job is to make all the numbers that the country needs to know at all times. And obviously, what needs to be done is not our remit. We will leave it to policymakers and captains of industry. But to be specific, is that we have seen movements in terms of those that are employed. There were 92,000 fewer, so there was not much movement. But in the unemployed, we have seen movements by about 158,000, which moved from the previous quarter of 8.2 to 8.4 million. And this 8.4 million is the one that accounts for the 33.5% as our unemployment rate. And we call this the official one because the NDP tracks that. But when we take the 8.4 million, we add the 3.2 million discouraged work seekers, as well as another 800,000 who didn't look for employment, but who said, if we got employment, we would have taken it, or if it came. Then we come to 12.4 million, and that 12.4 million is what we call the expanded unemployment rate, which sits at 42.6%.
Now, I got that. I understand that it's not your job to give commentary on and in-depth analysis. We'll chat to Davi Root about this just now. But having said that, you certainly can reflect on a trend, and the trend is upwards, right? And it has been for a while.
Certainly. We did have the highest unemployment rate at 35.3%. In the fourth quarter of 2021. However, what we are seeing at 33.5%, it is one of the highest post-COVID. So the point that you are making becomes very critical, because when you look at where we were a decade ago, second quarter 2014, we were sitting at 25.5%. Now it is steadily rising, and we are now sitting at 33.5%, which is just 2 percentage points from where we were a decade ago. Not 2 percentage points, 8 percentage points higher than where we were a decade ago.
Okay. Are you able to also break that down into different regions?
Certainly. let us look at the provinces that performed well. Gauteng gave us 42,000 jobs. Limpopo gained 31,000 jobs. Eastern Cape 25,000 jobs. But these jobs were not enough to offset the losses that we had, because the biggest losses were in the Western Cape at 65,000, 50,000 in Mpumalanga, 49,000 in KwaZulu-Natal. And these job losses, the highest were in the industry of trade. So when you look at trade, we lost 110,000, but particularly in the hotel and restaurants. So when you look at your KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga being a destination for the tourists, as well as the Western Cape, the hotel and restaurants did lose the highest, and that was followed by agriculture. And we know a province like Western Cape, it's strong in agriculture, and indeed also in private households, 18,000.
It's so interesting. The hotel lost the most when I think just yesterday, Patricia De Lille made the point about the tourism industry being on an absolute high in the last year or so.
Certainly, but that is why we measure every industry and its subcategories every quarter. It's because they fluctuate. If you look at where we were around December, there were more tourists in the country. But as the tourists are no longer available, the hotels and restaurants that had hired more temporary people are starting to lose them, and they will bring them again later in the year. And because it's in the area of trade, that's where you have wholesale as well as retail trade. They bring a lot more people when you are in the festive season. So beyond that, we do lose those jobs.
Okay. Is there anything, just lastly, in the stats that jumped off the page this time round that you'd like to share with us?
Nothing indeed jumped off the page specifically, but we know that young people, especially those aged 15 to 24 years, remain vulnerable to labor markets. Their unemployment rate is sitting at 60.8%, meaning that for every 10 young people, only 4 are employed, the 6 are not. And but also, out of the 10.3 million young people aged 15 to 24 years, 3.6 are not in employment, education, or training. And the other categories, particularly women being was that Women's Month this one. Women remain quite vulnerable to labor markets, especially Black African women, followed by the colored population group.
And therein reflects the deep concerns. We celebrate the wins, but these are the big losses in our country. Appreciate you giving off your time. Risenga Maluleke, Statistician General of South Africa, also head of Stats SA. By the way, just besides talking to me, if you feel like tweeting or posting any links from Stats SA to us, just share it. Ashraf Garda and SFM Radio, we'd gladly share that as well. Much appreciate your time this time round. So that's the one thought. Now, what do you make of that? What do you make of the unemployment rate? I mean, you've heard that it's gone up again from 32.9% to 33.5%, and as we've discussed, the trend is upwards and it continues upwards. So what do you feel about that? I mean, where do you see the hope to turn that around? I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and really I welcome first time callers, male, female, young, old, whatever. I certainly want to get your thoughts, people from around the country, around the world as well. You can call in 086 000 2032. Certainly like original, challenging thoughts when you do that. You can also voice note us 0614 104 107 and text us as well on WhatsApp. But by the way, if you want to follow the WhatsApp channel that we've just created, the In the Pulse the National Pulse channel, just when you do WhatsApp, just say, add me in to the channel as well. Okay, we'll chat to Darby Ruud right after this.
I'm Michelle Constant. Join the JSB crew and I every Saturday and Sunday morning between 7 and 10 a.m. We promise to keep you informed and entertained with innovation, culture, cars, travel, life learnings, environment, and of course, your big fat juicy. Small stories, big ideas, massive inspiration. The Jet Set Breakfast on SAFM.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so having spoken to the Statistician General, let's get the thoughts of Davi Ruert, who's the Chief Economist at the Efficient Group. Davi, appreciate your time. You're on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you.
Okay, and what does your pulse rate say about the unemployment rate?
Well, I expected it to deteriorate a little bit, but it was worse than what I've expected. And what I'm particularly concerned about is that the broader definition of unemployment also went up. Now, yes.
Yeah, carry on. Go ahead.
Yes, and the obvious reason why we see this increase in unemployment in South Africa is that the South African economy is simply not growing. And so the real question here, if we are concerned about unemployment, is what are we going to do about economic growth? That's the answer to our unemployment level.
Well, I mean, that's the question I want to put to you, because there's no sense we number crunching with you. I mean, we know the numbers, whether it's 32 or 33 or 34.
Yeah.
Basically, we got that, right? And it could well be 4.5 out of 10 people who are effectively unemployed, and that's frightening, and you know that, right? So I suppose I'm probably the 100th person who's going to ask you this question over the next day or two. What do we do next?
The answer is economic growth. And what can we do to get this economy to grow? Now, there are many things that I think that we can do to get this economy to grow. Well, recently we've seen very low levels of economic growth. I think the economy is probably going to expand at a rate of about 1% this year, perhaps a little bit better next year. In the meantime, the population is growing to close to 2%, so it's very clear that we will not be able to create enough jobs in South Africa. In the meantime, some other things are happening as well. For example, poverty levels are going up. People are actually going to bed hungry. So the real question is, what can we do to get this economy to grow? And the answer to that is to create a more competitive macroeconomic environment. Part of the reason why the economy is not growing is because we just don't have enough electricity. Another reason is that, or just broadly speaking, is that the state in South Africa is not very efficient. We know we've got high levels of crime in South Africa. People do not want to invest in a country like this. But if I look through all of this, I think the most important single issue in South Africa, we simply do not have confidence in South Africa. And there are various confidence indices, and they all point down. They're all at very low levels. So I think the first step that we need to take is to somehow to get confidence back in the South African economy. And I think we don't need a huge macroeconomic models or economic plans to get confidence back in the economy. You just need good political leadership to get confidence back in the economy. And I've got one or two very, very simple suggestions to take that first step to get confidence back in the economy. All right,
let's do it. Before you do that, I'm just picking up a piece from News 24, and it's unrelated, but somehow it gets us all thinking, which is people are leaving New Zealand in record numbers as unemployment rises, interest rates remain high, and economic growth is anemic, and that's according to stats from New Zealand. I'm just drawing that relationship between one country and the other. I'm not looking for an answer from you. My point to you, say we need confidence, right? And you've got the answers. But I'm saying more than confidence, I liken us to being in a boat that could well be about to sink. What you need then is not even confidence. You need to be, you're desperate, but you also need to be highly innovative. Even if you lack confidence, you have to find a way, as someone who is desperate in a sinking boat will find a way to try and get to the shore safely. So what would that be?
I just want to make a comment about countries like, for example, New Zealand, and the same applies to many other countries in the world. And is that it's completely two different sets of numbers. When you talk about unemployment in New Zealand, we're talking about unemployment levels of well below 10%. I mean, there's no way you can compare it to South Africa. The reason why those people are immigrating is not because they want to have necessarily a much better financial life or economic life. They are immigrating because they want to go to a nice island and retire there in many instances, or they are internet workers. They work through the internet and they go and live in a nice country like, for example, South Africa. And speaking about that, here is a suggestion for South Africa. If you look at economic activity globally and what is happening in South Africa, it's becoming more. Is there a word such as digitizable? I guess there could be. So that is the modern economy. It's a digital economy. It's a service-orientated economy. And what we can do in South Africa is make it easier for those guys immigrating from New Zealand, for example, to come to South Africa and to come and work in South Africa. And foreigners, especially well-qualified foreigners like New Zealanders and many other countries, they're not going to take jobs away from South Africans. They will contribute to economic activity in South Africa. And in the process, they will also buy in South Africa and do stuff in South Africa and create jobs indirectly in South Africa as well. So that is one solution. There are many other solutions as well.
So perhaps you'll be jealous because I'm going to repeat what I said. That I think it's what is required now is us to understand our desperation, but to be innovative in the desperation. So what level of innovation can we bring in, like ASAP?
Yes, a simple suggestion, what I think that we can do. And that is like I did mention that the confidence in South Africa is very low, people, and I can prove this to you. The numbers are there. So what can we do to get confidence back in the country? Now, look, for example, what's been happening to our sports teams. Whenever the sports teams in South Africa do well, you will see everybody's talking about that, everybody's calling you about that, everybody's happy about that. We need something to lift the spirits up in South Africa. And one way of lifting spirits up in South Africa is to do something that everybody's going to agree with. That's not going to cost you a lot of money. And here's a simple solution to this. And they did this in many countries. Well, not in many countries, but they've done exactly this in Rwanda. Get everybody to clean the place up. Let's start feeling good about South Africa. Get the president with his family meeting and tell everybody tomorrow morning we're going to all go out and clean the place up so we feel proud of being South Africans. That is an example of one first simple, cheap step that I'm sure everybody will be back.
All right, help us understand. I hear the point about confidence there, but in the immediate term, how does cleaning out I'm going to use the word stoop, I haven't used that word for a long time. How does cleaning your stoop in the street get you a job?
In fact, what's going to happen, there's a lot of proof of that. It's called the so-called broken window approach. They've tried this, for example, in New York. And if there's a big empty building and one window is broken, the next day just about all the windows are going to be broken. The opposite happens when you start cleaning the place up. People start turning positive. People start feeling good about this. And the same sort of thing happened in Rwanda. And today, if you land in Rwanda, that economy is growing quite fast. You can say whatever you want about the president, but the reality that the economy is growing fast because they are proud of being Rwandans. In South Africa, that is not the case. And the one easy way of doing that is just by cleaning it up. I can give you all the other economic answers. There are a lot of other things. We need to privatize. We have to do something about labor legislation. We have to liberalize and all that sort of stuff. But the first step that we need to take is just to get South Africans to become proud of being South Africans and just clean the place up.
So who makes that call? What I'm saying to you is, I know you mentioned the president. Is it the president? Yes. Is it government? Is it civil society? Is it business? But I'm also saying beyond cleaning up, like who implements the turnaround of the mindset changes of the nation?
I would say it should be the president. The president would say, listen, all of us, let's get together, let's make sure we live in a clean country and a safe country. Let's all be proud of being South Africans. You can trust me because we're all going to clean that up. There are many other examples as well. Another very good example is just get the traffic light in South Africa. Just apply the rules. People are dying on the roads. And if the president says, listen, from tomorrow morning, all the traffic cops going to be out there and just apply the rules to make sure everything works well. And then people start to see it works, and once it starts working, the next thing the president is going to say, we're going to start some sort of economic program. This time around, we're going to believe him. Now we don't believe him because everything has been a failure up to now.
Here's the last thing then. So I'm not suggesting as we talk today that all the unemployed people will get a job tomorrow. But when you're unemployed and you don't have a job and you've been knocking on doors for like 1 year, 2 years at a time, right? What can you do to occupy yourself, but to earn some money at the same time, to develop your skill set, and to ensure that you don't lose the sense of self-worth? It's four big questions that requires one answer in a minute.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that. It's going to take a very long time to fix the real unemployment levels in South Africa. We have to do something about skills development and all that sort of stuff. But I think one very good step will be to get rid of minimum wages in South Africa. Remember, there is something called, economists say there's no free lunch, but there is one free lunch. And one free lunch is when you allow people to trade freely. If you and I do a transaction, after the transaction, you and I are both better off. Just understand this. Get politicians to understand that free transactions free trade means that we are both better off afterwards. Today, it is impossible in some instances to trade because there are laws preventing us from trading, and minimum wages is an excellent example.
We're on to news time. So quick answer to this one here. When you talk about effectively eliminating minimum wage, and then critics will say, that's exploitative. What's your quick one-line soundbite answer to that?
What's worse of being exploited is not being exploited.
Okay, got that. Dawie Red has certainly got us thinking. Rather be exploited by being paid less than not being paid at all, because that's complete exploitation, really. I wonder what you think about it. Dawie Red is the chief economist at the Efficient Group. Ed, your thoughts on that? Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. In the hot seat, Denayo Mataung.
Thank you, Ashraf. Top stories. ANC elects Dada Morero as Joburg mayoral candidate, and Iran rejects pressure to stand down from Israel retaliation. A very good afternoon. The ANC in Johannesburg says it has resolved to forward the name of its regional chairperson and current finance MMC, Dada Morero, for the position of the executive mayor of Johannesburg. The announcement follows the resignation of Johannesburg Mayor Kabelo Kwamanda. Kwamanda submitted his resignation to the Speaker of Council today. Briefing the media in Johannesburg, ANC Regional Secretary Sasabona Manganye says Kwamanda's resignation is a culmination of robust engagement within the ANC structures and 13 political parties representing the government of local unity. Manganye says it makes sense that the mayor comes from the ANC due to the majority it holds in council as well as experience.
The ANC lead the GLU and must therefore take a responsibility for the strategic direction that the city must take. It should be able to be led by the African National Congress as the leader of the coalition in Johannesburg, and it makes sense that the executive mayor comes from the ANC. So it was also agreed that amongst the parties constituting the GLU, the ANC by far the biggest representation in council and is the most experienced party in leading local government.
The SOS Support Public Broadcasting Coalition has welcomed the return of the SABC bill to Parliament. However, it says the bill in its current form should be withdrawn until the policy vacuum has been addressed. The coalition says the white paper on audio and audiovisual media services is key to the success of the bill. It says this will determine the funding model of the SABC to ensure the public broadcaster's long-term financial sustainability. SOS Coalition National Coordinator Uyanda Siotula.
We commend Parliament for picking up on this bill, as we believe it is really important and needs to be finalized in order for South Africa to realize a sustainable and an independent public broadcaster. We expect the committee to carry out the outstanding public hearings that were cancelled back in February. These will give ourselves as SOS and many other stakeholders an opportunity to really outline the problematic areas of this bill. Our concerns as SOS remain, the first being that the bill is in Parliament in a policy vacuum as we await the finalization of the draft white paper on audio and audiovisual media services.
In other news, the legal team of Moradi Cholota says it is dismayed with the decision of the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court to decline oral submissions in her bail application. This after the prosecution made its oral response and also submitted the response in writing. The state argued that Cholota has no desire to stand trial and is a flight risk. The case has been postponed to Thursday for the defense to submit oral and written arguments. Cholota's lawyer, Pete Tibane, expresses their disappointment.
We are extremely baffled by what has happened. You were here yesterday. The states were given an opportunity to consider our documents. But for some reason, same courtesy cannot be afforded to our client today. So, by so saying, we're extremely baffled and we feel it's extremely unfair to our client. Each and every second that our clients spend in prison is in violation of your rights, and it's extremely unfair.
Agri-SA CEO Johan Kotze says farmers must not see any policy in the agricultural sector as a stumbling block to produce. Kotze, however, says there are some policies that need to be sharpened. He was speaking during a 2-day Congress of Commercial Farmers in Modimolle, Limpopo. Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen is also attending the Congress. Kotze says even though there is a government of national unity, farmers must also unite.
Social economic impact of agriculture is massive in South Africa. We see that as a responsibility for us as farmers. Even though we have a government of national unity, we need to stand up as agriculture as a unity. And you know what, take up the responsibility of feeding a nation, feeding Africa. Policy is not withholding us not to produce. And we've proved that in the past. So the focus should not be on policy. Sort out the policies that need to be sorted out. And there's a few policies that we need to dust off and new ones we need to bring in.
Lastly, Iran has dismissed calls for Western countries to refrain from taking action against Israel as concerns grow about a possible imminent attack on Israel. France, Germany and Britain have urged Tehran to avoid military escalation. The BBC's Hugo Bashiga has the details.
Iran has promised to retaliate following the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas political leader in Tehran 2 weeks ago. Both Iran and Hamas blame Israel for this assassination. There are concerns here in Lebanon that Hezbollah, the powerful militia backed by Iran, could also be planning a wide-scale attack on Israel in response to the assassination of a senior Hezbollah commander here in Beirut. So real concerns that an escalation of hostilities could lead to a wider regional conflict.
Recapping the top story this hour, the ANC in Johannesburg says it has resolved to forward the name of its regional chairperson and current finance MMC Dada Morero for the position of the executive mayor of Johannesburg. Headlines at 4:30 for SFM News. I am Dino Motaung.
Coming up in your sports, excitement grows as CAF Interclub 2024-25 season kicks off on Friday, and Sri Lanka named Bell as batting coach for England tour. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N1 southbound in Fourways is slow moving towards Winnie Mandela Drive exit. In KZN, Ungeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. The N3 westbound has a stationary vehicle after Pavilion Shopping Centre exit, and Bayard Road has truck congestion reported towards and from the Bluff. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound queuing towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards Racecourse Road, and Lisbeck Parkway outbound in Observatory is slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
We can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumaphi, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Every day on the show, I ask the question, what for you moves the national pulse? Because that would reflect the conversations that moves the country. And today it's like three things. It's the issue of Bayanda Walaza, my chat with, our chat, Tumi and I, chatting to the South African silver medalist. The guy was still in school. He's going to write his matric prelims now. That's one. We've also been chatting about the unemployment crisis. Once again, those numbers on a high. And there's been conversations about the fact that the Joburg mayor has resigned. We'll chat, by the way, to Hanif Hendricks, the leader of the Al Jama'ah party, coming up shortly. Let's, however, pick up on another important issue, that of My Vote Counts, and the issue of party political funding. You may be aware that in that period, in that short window period leading up to the election on May 29, the the need to reveal sources for party political funding fell away, and it's quite an anomaly, I would think. Okay. But that election's gone. My Vote Count themselves, they are determined to ensure that changes are made to the amended Political Party Funding Act. So yesterday, the Western Cape High Court reserved judgment in the case between My Vote Counts, the Presidency, Parliament and the Department of Home Affairs. So let's try and understand what actually happened and what's the position of My Vote Counts on this matter. Joel Brackman with me, Senior Researcher at My Vote Counts. Joel, appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse.
Nice to chat, Ashraf.
Thank you. So give us a backstory in terms of, your position as in My Vote Counts. What actually happened that got us to a position now that the High Court will reserve judgment in the case?
Sure. So this is quite a narrow and specific issue that we're dealing with, right? So the Political Party Funding Act came into being in 2021. For the past 3 years or so, for the first time, we've had, disclosures. We have some sense of what private sources are funding our politics. In May, the President signed the Electoral Matters Amendment Act into operation. And what that did is it amended several other laws, including the Political Party Funding Act. And what it did to the Funding Act is it removed these two key limits. So the first is the 100,000 Rand disclosure threshold. And that means that any amount, any donation worth 100K or more had to be disclosed. The public would know about this. The second limit that was removed is the 15 million Rand annual donation cap. So that was the amount that one donor could give to one party in a single year. And what has happened is that these two limits have been removed through poor planning, through bad coordination, whatever we want to call it. We are at the situation now where we've had what we're calling party funding lawlessness for the past 3 months.
So let me interject on that. I mean, you said it's been removed. You said poor planning, poor whatever, but who motivated the removal? I mean, was it poor intention as well?
So we warned Parliament and we warned the President that unless they, at the same time as this new law was brought into operation, if they didn't at the same time make these new regulations, that we would have this gap, this lacuna in the law. And unfortunately, so we went to court on an urgent basis, literally just to close this gap, right? This is we aren't asking for anything different. We were literally asking to put things back in place as they were. We have other issues with the Political Party Funding Act, which we are challenging in court later in the year. But this issue was around a very narrow issue around closing this gap.
Okay, so what did the court say yesterday?
So in May, when we first went there on an urgent basis, the court made like a preliminary, a prima facie finding that there was indeed a lacuna in the law. We went back yesterday, and we wanted to get the relief that we had sought, which was for the court to reinstate these two limits until such time as Parliament and the President, they still within their power to make these new limits, these new regulations. The court, so initially all of the state respondents, the President and the Minister of Home Affairs, they were opposing our application. Yesterday in court, things changed and all of the state respondents now are not opposing our application. The DA has asked to join the case, but basically what the judge needs to decide now is whether the DA is admitted as a party and their arguments are heard, and then a final determination on whether there is a lacuna in the law, and then what the court should do if that is the case.
Okay, and when would you expect judgment then?
Hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so. That's the time it took last time to get judgment.
I've noticed, you mentioned, there's been a turnaround which maybe augurs well for your personal position, right? But I also noticed that Leon Schreiber, the Minister of Home Affairs, and he's tweeted, and I like the fact that people can tweet. He's tweeted to your tweet, right? So it's like his own press release saying, I've instructed that Home Affairs opposition stance against this case be withdrawn immediately. We don't need less or zero disclosure. We need stronger financial disclosures to protect our democracy from cases like the VBS, looting forward with our democracy, never backwards. That does suggest there's a significant shift in policies of multiple parties, isn't it? Not just one.
So we obviously welcome that sentiment. That reflects exactly what NPC stands for. I can't speculate around the reason why this change has happened, but I think part of it is possibly because of the court's original finding in May, and maybe the state respondents saw that where the case was headed. But regardless, to have this sort of proactive sort of messaging from the Minister is very welcoming.
Okay, that's where we can leave it. Appreciate your time for now, and we'll probably chat to you in 2 weeks' time. Let's see what happens then. Joel Brachman, the senior researcher at My Vote Counts. Right, we'll get your calls because I think there's a range of people want to talk about unemployment, and some of you commenting about our conversation with the Olympic silver medalist Bayanda Walaza. Also, what about Joburg? I asked the question, you can certainly vote as well. I'm asking you, the mayor of Joburg has resigned. You say yay or you say nay. You can WhatsApp right away, 0614 104 107. While you're at that, if you wish to also join the National Pulse WhatsApp channel, just put it down as well. So we know exactly, we can add you to that channel too. Right, I'll take your calls after this.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. Contestants are taken on a flavor journey and must work in teams to bake a colorful, multi-layered cake inspired by the smooth vibes of a tropical island. Featuring special guest judges Mimi and Holly from Baking with the Rays. That's the Tastemaster Junior. Tuesdays at 7, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Paying your TV license means that you can tune in to the Espresso Morning Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays right here on S3. Enjoy our entertainment, recipes, and important current affairs and updates. All of this for less than 74 cents a day or 265 Rand for an entire year. For superfast, secure, and convenient payment from any device, go onto tvlrc.co.za and click on the Fast Pay button for payment in under 3 minutes. Make a difference with Espresso and TV licenses and pay yours.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, considering the issue of the Joburg mayor resigning, we will be chatting to Hanif Hendricks, the leader of the Al Jama'ah party, coming up pretty shortly. Let's get your calls. Daniel has got some thoughts on employment. Daniel, hi.
Hi, Ashraf. Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to be a minute. I know you got just not much time. Okay, in terms of employment, we have lots of people that have got graduate degrees and so forth. I think, but they're looking at a very high market, meaning there's so many graduates, but there's no job creation. I think the one idea that I want to share, in all communities, there are people that are retired, there are people that have got experience. I think the idea of skills sharing and skilling the community and having hubs in each community where people that have retired, the school teachers, the doctors, the nurses, and other technical staff, where they can have a pool of people to train and develop and bring in new ideas.
Okay, got that.
But I think I'll stop there.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think you're right, and it's not like it's the first time we've heard this, but perhaps your point is that there's a brain's trust of people who may not be in formal employment any longer for whatever reasons, but they have skills that they can transfer to those who are unemployed and at the moment unemployable because of a skill shortage, and this could play a huge role in doing just that. It's like winning a gold medal. Seriously, they can do that in the Olympic Games. Daniel, thanks for that call. Appreciate it.
I think just to add, also we must not make it very formal, informally, because people must just get that skill. That's it. Thank you.
Point made. Appreciate your call. Thanks for that, and thanks for listening as well. Zola in Bloemfontein, hi.
Good day, Ashraf.
Yeah, good day. Go ahead, Zola. Yeah.
Yes, on the issue of a minimum wage, I don't have a problem with it, but I believe that it can assist if there can be a threshold. Let the state look at the turnover of companies, that if you are making this much, then you have to pay this much of a minimum wage, because there are companies which are not making a lot of profit and they retrench people. On individuals, let us look at your annual salary, how much you earn, then We are being told that if you earn 600,000, then you must not pay less than 6,000 a month to your employee. Because now it is in such a way that even people who want to employ others, they cannot because of the minimum wage. They end up taking illegal foreigners to work who are prepared to take anything. I'm not justifying that, but I'm saying let us have a threshold, annual turnover, just like in the employment equity plan.
Okay, got that point. Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Again, another thought on unemployment, and again, that issue of Dami Ruud making the point, said drop the minimum wage, and I asked, is it exploitation? But he said, it's almost like the lesser exploitation of not having a job at all. I wonder whether you would agree with that, right? Okay, let's talk to Hanif Hendricks right after this.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, you may be aware there's been this call for the resignation of the Joburg Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda for quite a few months. In fact, there's been many different parties making that call. But today, finally, the Joburg Executive Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda issued a statement announcing that he will resign or has resigned. And I understand now that according to the Speaker of the Council, Margaret Arnolds, that will be effective on Friday when there will be this vote for this new mayor coming in. Let's get the thoughts of Hanif Hendricks, the founder and the leader of the Al Jamaa party, because remember, Kabelo Gwamanda is a member of the Al Jamaa party. So, Hanif, appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse.
No, thank you very much. As you know, I arrived in Joburg 11 o'clock last night. I called Gwamanda to my hotel and the ANC, and midnight we had our meeting, and within an hour we developed an exit policy.
Okay, so explain your rationale, because I get it then you played a key role in developing this exit policy.
Yeah, look, as you know, that the NEC of the ANC had a meeting this week, and one of the decisions was that they're going to reconfigure the municipalities in Joburg and in Gauteng. And the first municipality was Johannesburg, and the president gave a direct instruction that matters be finalized by Friday. So that information came to me, and that's why I called the two parties together. And the ANC, I explained to the ANC exactly how we changed Joburg around, the hard work that we did. They then used it as their script when they had a briefing today, claiming all the credit. But, we were leading. They only had 5 out of 10 of the best breed of mayoral committee members. So we then, felt that, look, the president has in mind the 2026-27 elections. He wants to win back the seats that they lost in the municipalities in Gauteng. And they feel that where the ANC at the moment has the majority, they should constitute government and they should be the mayor. And we didn't have a quarrel with it. So Gwamanda was redeployed and he will occupy another position on the mayoral committee. Remember, we always had the position of being in charge of planning and an oversight over the speaker and the mayor. So we continue that particular role. And then we also had some other issues, incomplete work. We're helping Winnie Mandela's family. We're helping Thabo Mbeki. We need to change Leila Khalid, get the name boards up. And also the Palestinian issue is very strong. And as you know, when the ANC gave the briefing, they concluded by saying that Israel is an apartheid state.
Okay, so you've been effectively collaborating with the ANC on a whole range of different issues. This is just one of them. Let's get back to the key issue of the mayor part, right? I understand, as we go back, that Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda and before him Tapelo Ahmed were only the mayors by virtue of the ANC as the majority party effectively making an agreement with the Al Jamaa party and effectively allowing your mayor to be this place keeper. That means that position was kept because the ANC and the EFF and others couldn't agree with each other. That is true, isn't it?
That is quite correct, that the ANC has used us as a redeployed Al Jamaa in Escort, in Harding, in Umzinto, where they needed our assistance. So we've always been there for the ANC because they lead the liberation movement. And all political parties from the liberation movement, we support them. And that's the only reason we support the ANC.
Right.
We differ with them quite a lot, but on most of the issues we agree with them.
Okay, I understand that. So if you were the placekeeper, Al Jamaa, then I would take it would be within the ANC's right then to say, hold it, we still the party with the most votes in the city of Joburg. There's a realignment. We want to now change things around because I understand an ANC mayor would be more than likely be elected on Friday. And so if that's the case, you would have no problem with that. Now, I mean, am I right? You wouldn't have a problem with that, right? With the ANC position?
Not at all, because I mean, we only have 2 seats in the city of Joburg.
Okay.
We sacrificed a 3rd seat in order to try and get a loan. Because we didn't want to send one of our councillors to Parliament. We needed his vote for a 2.5 billion rand loan. So we made all those sacrifices for the ANC and the city of Johannesburg. And so on Friday, when it comes to the vote, we will vote whoever the ANC puts there. We also told the ANC that they're making a big mistake by flirting with Action SA. Action SA wants to destroy them. It's a Zionist party. They're in cahoots with the Ahmad Kathrada Foundation and OTA. They're all Zionists trying to capture Joburg. So we've given that warning and hope the ANC will listen to us.
Okay, but that's interesting you make that point, and I understand that different political parties have very, very different policies and alignments, and yet you still will, although you've given them a warning about what you perceive as them doing wrong, you'd still be chummies with the ANC. You'd still vote for them in the city of Joburg and in other municipalities. Yeah?
Yeah, because, they lead the liberation movement. They're the political party with the numbers that comes from out of the liberation movement. And we will continue supporting the liberation movement's political parties because we don't want them to vanish and disappear.
Okay, let me go back to the issue of the mayor. If it was simply a case of being this placekeeper and then like his time was up, then the discussion would be over, right? On the one hand, the Al Jamaa itself, and I think even the speaker has spoken about the clean audits that Kabelo Gwamanda has overseen. I think you've made that in a conversation we've had 2 weeks back as well. But the other is there's been a series of things that has gone wrong within the city, and therefore there's been widespread calls from many organizations, not just the ones you've mentioned. Many citizens of the city have seen no confidence in the mayor, and therefore a time for a complete change for the single most important economic city in the country that's been failing left, right and center. What do you make of that? That means how much do you force and blame to your mayor versus something else?
Look, I feel that senior journalists like yourself must do a fact check. We're there for a year. You need to take into account that the investors have confidence in us. They gave a 2.5 billion loan. Salka gave us the best municipality in Gauteng. We got 2 clean audits. Surely in 1 year's time, that must be weighed against the nonsense that the Ahmad Kathrada Foundation is peddling, the rubbish that they're talking about. And one has to weigh up what has been achieved and what the criticisms are. And, people complain that when they go into the street, it's dirty. I've been through Benoni and other streets, and maybe I came after Pick It Up was there and it was clean. So obviously after 2-3 hours, it's messed up again because the residents of Joburg, they don't have, the traders and so on causes these problems. So I feel it's very unfair of senior journalists not to do a fact check.
Okay.
Look at what is achieved and also look at what the ANC claims that the local government of Unity has done.
Okay.
And they claim that they are responsible, but they weren't leading. I was leading.
So here's the question. I hear all the things you've said, and perhaps it needs 2 different or 3 different takes on this issue, right? If that were the case, then why would, in your 11 o'clock meeting last night, why would just hear what I have to say. Why would the ANC then allow a negotiation to have an exit plan for a mayor that's performing so well? I mean, I would think, considering now we have this government of national unity, that means it doesn't matter which party. Why would the ANC allow it? Why would they not just keep the mayor in?
Let me give you a quick answer. Yeah. The NEC had a meeting 3 days ago, and President Ramaphosa gave instructions that they must reconfigure the municipalities in Gauteng, and Joburg must be the first one, and that the ANC needs to have a mayor in place in Joburg. So that was instruction from the president, and I felt it was a reasonable instruction, and I developed the exit policy with Kwamanda and the ANC midnight last night.
Okay, I hear you, but now we're on to news time, so a quick one from you. You accepted that, right? Even though your mayor was the mayor of in your opinion, a performing city. So why would you allow that?
Look, I'm a Democrat. The ANC's got the numbers, and at the time they had difficulties. And the only reason that they asked us to assist them and take the lead is because they had a quarrel with the EFF. So I don't say we got the position by default. We got it on merit because they felt we will do a good job. We did a good job, and we have to be we have to be Democrats. The ANC has the numbers, and if they throw the book at us, we have to then say yes, no, fine. You can have the mayor's seat back.
Okay, but you still support the ANC anyway?
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right, let's leave it at that. Hanif Hendricks, founder, leader of the Al Jama'a party. Well, what do you make of that conversation? And in terms of the different sides have different opinions about the leadership of the outgoing mayor, Kabelo Gwamanda. Just to give me your thoughts, WhatsApp calls, all welcome. You can also tweet it out on our social media platforms. Let's get the news headlines now with Daneo.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. Good afternoon. Let's take a look at the headlines at 4:30. The ANC in Johannesburg says there has always been an understanding that the position of the mayor belongs to the party. This follows the party's announcement that it will field its regional chairperson and current finance MMC Dada Morero for the position of executive mayor of Johannesburg this week. In other news, the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng is urging a swift investigation into the deaths of 4 learners in separate incidents on Monday, and senior health officials in Central Africa are holding a meeting to declare a public health emergency over a new fast-spreading variant of Mpox. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Main Reef Road queuing through Crown, Main Reef Road westbound in Amalgam also has delays towards Nasrec Road, and the N1 southbound in central Johannesburg slow moving towards Crown interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a stationary vehicle reported after the Pavilion Shopping Centre exit causing some delays, and Bayhead Road has track congestion reported towards and from the Bluff. In Cape Town, the N1 Service Road outbound queuing towards the N7 highway, the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is queuing towards Voortrekker Road, and the N1 outbound has a crash reported at Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
All right, to me, our own Minister of Sport, what's the big sports stories?
Well, we start off with football this hour, and the chase for continental glory officially gets underway this week as CAF kicks off the much anticipated CAF Interclub 2024-25 season with the preliminary rounds of the CAF Champions League and Confed Cup. The first round will take place between the 16th and 18th of August, with the return leg set to be played between the 23rd and 25th of August. In terms of the second preliminary round, it will then be followed by the 13th to the 15th of September for the first legs of the second round, while the return legs to confirm the draw for the group stages will be played between the 20th and the 22nd of September. Title holders Al Ahly from Egypt, Esperance of Tunisia, and Mamelodi Sundowns are among the highest ranked clubs exempted from the first preliminary round of the CAF Champions League, while the 12 highest ranked clubs in the CAF Confed Cup, including Zamalek, are also exempted from the first round. Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Mangoba Mngqithi says that he supports the club's decision to only give captain Themba Zwane a short-term contract. The Downs fans base have been divided over the announcement, as some feel the midfielder has done enough to be given more than a year. Here's Mngqithi.
I think it's the right thing to do, and everybody is free to make his opinion heard, but I think it's the right thing to do, because for players at that age it's important to keep them on their toes. I don't think it necessarily means he will be out of the club after 1 year, but for him to stay sharp, it's important that he knows he has to fight for the next contract. And I think if all PSL teams can adopt that, it will be the best thing that we can do for our football. Because most of senior players, they want to get a 4-year contract because they know they are looking for retirement, and you want them to perform every week. And I think it's a good thing, and I think Mshishi is the right player for that because he is a very professional boy. He will work very hard. He will know he cannot sit on his laurels. He has to give it his best shot, and I'm very confident he will do very well.
Elsewhere, West Ham United have signed right back Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United on a 7-year contract. Now, the deal is worth around £15 million, which is 348 million rand for the 26-year-old who was in the final year of his contract with United. Wan-Bissaka began his career at Crystal Palace before joining United in 2019, and he played 190 matches for Manchester's club and helped them win the FA Cup last season. In athletics, Olympic silver medalist Bayanda Walaza says that his coach Thabo Motibedi played a huge role in helping him perform at his best at the Paris Olympics. Kuro Hazeldean High School funded the travel expenses for coach Motibedi to attend the games in Paris to support their sprinter. Now, the coach has 18 years of experience and has coached big stars like Sean Maswangaye, Anazo Jobodwana, Gift Luotlela and Clarence Munyai. And speaking on the National Pulse earlier on, Walaza says that Motibedi does not only play the role of a coach in his life.
For me and coach, he's not just a coach to me at this moment because he serves as a father also, because he also goes through, he knows when I'm not good, he knows when I'm in a good shape, like he knows me by now, like he knows everything about me. And also, this is the secret that we have, me and him, we just discovered it. I perform much more better when he is around because I'm much more calmer when he's around me. So he just gives me tips to, okay, be calm, do this. So when he's not there, somehow I just panic by seeing like big people when they just pass, when they're doing something, and then I start panicking a little bit. But if he's there, it's easy for me to be calm, collected, and just be myself.
In cricket, former England player Ian Bell was named as Sri Lanka's batting coach for the 3-match test series against England. Sri Lanka Cricket said that the 42-year-old former right-hand batter was hired to draw on his experience of playing 118 tests for England. Sri Lanka appointed former skipper Sanatha Jayasuriya last month to replace head coach Chris Silverwood, who quit following the country's early exit from the T20 World Cup. Finally, in tennis, Iga Swiatek expects a tough return to hardcourt tennis at the Cincinnati Open, but the top-ranked Paul said that she will not heap pressure on herself and approach the WTA 1000 event like a practice tournament before the US Open. Swiatek last competed on the surface at the Miami Open in March and then went on to win titles on clay at Madrid, Rome and French Open before crashing out in the third on the grass court of Wimbledon. On that note, it's a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour.
Just a quick one. I mean, the conversation we had, so for those that don't know, how can you not know this? We had a chat with Bayanda Walaza for 25 minutes when the show started, and please listen to the podcast and share that as well. But I want to just reference, I mean, it is a fascinating chat, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For someone that is making his debut, come back with a silver medal, I think it is beyond his dreams.
Absolutely.
And also his mother's. I was hoping to actually play the clip from the mother. Unfortunately, it was not clear, but she was just highlighting how they've been struggling with him and her, with her and her son through the years, and she just feels like this is some sort of like a full circle for them.
The stories that I think, and again, tragedy always strikes so many South Africans. His father died at the age of 10, when he was 10, and he was shot. So again, he was killed, right? And then they were obviously desperate, as you would expect. And then, as he mentioned, he did some schooling and he showed some talent, and he got to, I think, 4-2, besides the school in Katlehong.
Yeah.
And then finally the big break came with the Kuro school. And they saw something magical in this youngster, and they invested in him and the coach, and then took them both to the Olympic Games. So they've got a seat at the table. I mean, and that's what we talk about all the time, because we'll speak to Youth Capital just now about opportunities for young people. You have to find ways to give people opportunities, otherwise you will have a mass number of unemployed people in the country. But just a quick one, what did you make of how we came across in the conversation?
He felt quite confident and looking forward to perhaps the future for himself. I hope he does well in the prelims.
Well, you see, when you said prelims, I thought it's like the heats. You see where my mind is shifted. Prelims means heats. Prelims does not mean matric prelims, okay? It's something completely different. Yeah, but I get your point. Okay, more sport in an hour, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our brand new Miss South Africa 2024 is Mia!
Have you not always accepted, or rather have you not always been comfortable with being a beautiful girl? I mean, you are strikingly beautiful. I know it has nothing to do with you. Mom and Dad are listening, so they get all the credits. You are a strikingly beautiful girl.
Thank you so much. I actually, when I grew up, I did experience bullying. I was an emotional eater. I got overweight, so I have not always felt beautiful. I did have a very tough time during school and like primary school with feeling beautiful. Like I felt very unworthy. I felt very ugly. And there is this line that I love that says, I know my worth, because I have felt my unworthiness.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to the numbers now with Makwe Masilela, Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, good chatting to you. Right, you've got local and global markets coming up, but firstly, tell me about Home Choice.
Afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to your listeners. This is a fintech retailer also offering lending, payment solutions, and insurance products using innovative mobile platforms to over 2.5 million mobile savvy mass market customers. Strong financial performance with exceptional growth from Weaver, which offers personal lending and insurance. It contributes 95% of operating profits, and their retail business turnaround is accelerating. Revenue up 14.6% with fintech revenue up 31%. And the profits as headline earnings per share up 37%, with interim dividends up 35%. And market are focusing on U.S. consumer price index to see if the Fed will have a more free or a more constrained hand in refocusing on the labor market and front-loading rate cuts sufficiently to secure soft landing. And risk sentiment is on the mend, even though the U.S. is convinced that Iran will attack Israel sometime this week. And any more signs of cooling inflation gives the U.S. more impetus to cut interest rates, especially amid growing fears that the U.S. economy is headed for a recession, and their producer prices slowed more than expected in July, and panic appears to have faded. But if history is any guide, markets might remain jittery for some time. Locally, our June mining production was worse than expected. Same applies to our employment rate for Q2, and after 5 straight sessions of gains, oil prices dipped as OPEC cut its demand focus for 2024, and that helped to counteract supply fears emanating from escalating Middle East tension. Oil as it is now is down 0.8% at $81 a barrel, and there's a tug of war between falling yields and the dollar, and that's versus geopolitics. As a result, the yellow metal is flat at 2,471, but platinum is down 0.3% at $938. The DAX is up 0.1%, FTSE CAC flat, the Dow is up 0.1%, S&P up 0.6%, JSE is up 0.2%, and the rand has firmed almost 0.5%, 18.15 to the US dollar, 23.26 to the pound, and 1988 to the euro.
Right, thanks for that. We will have another chat with you tomorrow, but another market update coming up in about just after 5:30. So listen out for that. And also, I'll tell you now, we'll get a further response from the conversation I had with Hanif Hendricks from the Al Jama'ah Party. He should be the representative from the Katwada Foundation. In fact, we'll get Mark Hayward to talk to us about it, because he's part of that grouping that effectively called for the resignation of the Joburg mayor. Well, now they've got what they wanted. Right, let's get to calls after this.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, your thoughts on Joburg Mayor. I say he's resigned, you say yay or you say nay. What is it? WhatsApp us right away, 0614 104 107. And while you're at it, you can add your comments in terms of why you feel what you feel. Right, Craig in Joburg, hi.
Hi, Ashraf, good afternoon. We're just thinking with the Hendricks, referring to Mr. Hendricks' comments, I'm not sure what planet he's living on, because if you ask 90% of Johannesburg citizens, what if they won't be able to mention one positive thing that Mr. Kwamanda has done. So as far as basic service delivery is concerned, the city's gone backwards in many ways. So I think he's just completely missing the plot. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that point, Craig. So a point made, and many may concur. Whether it's 90%, I may differ with the 90%. Let's get some WhatsApp voice notes as well on similar issues around the Joburg Mayor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf, Inspector Tracker. Mr. Ashraf, can you help me understand here? When the mayor resigns, how much money is he paid?
Does it matter? I mean, I'm just saying to you now, the fact is there's a whole structure. I think that's probably the least important one. We know that at national level, the MPs get 100,000 rands per month, so I understand. And some other perks that gets their way, but I think there's really so many. I don't know the number exactly, but I'm just saying to you, the bigger issue is, does he deliver on the service itself? Right, let's get further comments on the issue that we discussed earlier on regarding minimum wage.
Ashraf, anonymous caller, this thing of a minimum wage is only on policies. Otherwise, practically speaking, it's not happening. At this day and time, there are still companies who are paying only 18 rand per hour for their employees. And that what I'm saying is from their personal experience. It's still happening right today.
Okay, got that. And let's get another call. Well, I mean, you see, that's the point. But let me put this out to you. Would you accept, if you are unemployed and for a while, would you accept a figure below the minimum wage just to get your foot in? Or do you agree that the principle of minimum wage is important and you'd rather than be unemployed because a company cannot afford to pay you half the minimum wage or 1/3 or whatever, so you'd rather be unemployed? What do you feel? Because there is this other view that doing away with minimum wage will simply get most companies to just reduce the minimum wage because they also want to obviously keep their costs as low as possible. So why would they pay you more when they can pay you less? So wouldn't that open that floodgate? But is the reverse applicable, which means you will get a job? And if you're good at that, who knows what may happen next? I wonder if others can share how that conundrum is played out in other countries with and without a minimum wage. Tsepo in Welcome, hi.
Ashraf, I think keeping people wanting to employ people just because you want to meet a minimum wage, that's unethical. It's very much unethical. But anyway, my issue wasn't on that. It was on saying how can government use idling resources that they have in order to create unemployment, to create employment, for example. I mean, Velcom, like they told you, your colleagues, they have a whole lot of piles of old mine sand. Those piles of sand, it's clay. With clay, you can create ceramic. With ceramic, there are tiles, there's cutlery like your plates and stuff like that. From there, you can make a whole lot of. That's an economy, idling economy over there.
Well, I think there are just so many. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and without we have those from that as in how can we use that sand in order to create an economy out of it? We had gold and they've finished the gold. Obviously now they are retrenching people. Therefore we have the sand. From that you can make bricks as well, you can make tiles. So we have a whole lot of that idling economy that is there, and you just need the will for government, maybe or even for laws to be written to say allow people to use that land, to use those the things, and from that there's a whole lot of people that can be employed, even maybe over 500,000 people.
Okay, well I hope that happens. Somebody's listening and they need to take advantage of what you've suggested. Thanks for that. Thanks for that call. Let me just give you my quick thoughts in terms of my take on the Joburg mayor. So let's get to the reality. The Joburg mayor Kabelo Gwamanda does not inspire any confidence. I know that as a citizen of the city of Joburg, it doesn't. But on the other hand, you can get people who inspire confidence who doesn't deliver. So the fact that he doesn't inspire confidence doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't deliver. I'm saying he doesn't inspire confidence. However, what's very important in this issue, if we're suggesting he's the root cause of all the problems of the city of Joburg in the last year or so, that is terribly unfair. Not just him, but his predecessor, Tapelo Ahmed, both from the same party. Remember, they've been place sitters on behalf of the ANC in particular. And if we're suggesting that the problems of Joburg are only 1 year or a year and a half old, that's just wrong. It's gone on long before that. In fact, they are a reflection of the political parties unable to get together and make deals for the benefit of the city of Johannesburg. So that's what they've done. The problems have continued a long time. The mess in Joburg is going on well before that. ANC leadership, DA leadership, you name it. It's been a mess for a long time. So it needs a dramatic change. And therefore my plea to the people of the city now in charge with the new mayor coming up soon, right, is can you please put the people at the very center of the city? Otherwise, this city of gold will lose whatever little luster it has forever. And that could happen soon. Well, so that's my point. You can tell me what's yours.
18 teams are back on the hunting ground. No one wants a loss or a draw. They are all searching for maximum points in every encounter. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Do not miss out on the 2024-2025 Bundesliga season. Catch the action live on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Paying your TV license means that you can tune in to the Espresso Morning Show from 6 to 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays right here on S3. Enjoy our entertainment, recipes, and important current affairs and updates. All of this for less than 74 cents a day or 265 Rand for an entire year. For superfast, secure, and convenient payment from any device, go onto tvlrc.co.za and click on the Fast Pay button for payment in under 3 minutes. Make a difference with Espresso and TV licenses and paying yours.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
So by the way, I did tell you earlier on, what do I do since the Olympics are over when I get home at night? Well, I'll tell you what, tonight at 8 p.m, I'll be locked into SAFM, and I'll tell you why. Because the Chief Justice, or should I say the outgoing Chief Justice, Zondo, will be joining Nkaba Mabete on the Viewpoint this evening. So listen out from 8 o'clock. Should be a fascinating conversation. I guess it's going to be for an hour. Can't be 10 minutes, can't it? 1 hour, I would expect, with the Chief Justice, outgoing Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo. Let's get to the other issues around unemployment. So we've already discussed it. The unemployment rate continues, and it's a huge cause for concern. And when you then factor in youth age 15 to 24, those numbers change, and then 25 to 34, you look at the unemployment rate that goes up to 60.8% and then 41%. It's like, where do you find the solution to this? It's a big issue. Now, Youth Capital's Crystal Duncan Williams, we've chatted to her before. Well, their organization, they believe that and this is important, the informal economy could play a huge role in unlocking opportunities for the young people in South Africa. So let's get the solutions. Crystal Duncan Williams, project lead at Youth Capital. Welcome to the National Pulse.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for your time, Crystal. Let's start with what you call the informal economy.
So informal economy, I think, is anything that isn't a registered business. Think about, people selling sweets and chips at the taxi rank, people hawking things at the robots, kind of shisinyama along the side of the road in a township. These are all examples of the informal economy. But in South Africa, we really have a disproportionate disproportionately small informal economy compared to the rest of the continent, and it's really a missed opportunity for creation of jobs and for giving young people in particular a way to generate some income for themselves and their families.
So what would you suggest this informal economy does in the midst of a largely unemployed formal economy?
So I think what we really need to do is reduce the restrictions on informal traders. Research presented by a professor at UCT shows, the example of a young person who doesn't have an ID, doesn't have residence, doesn't have money for taxi fare, to go up and down to the CBD to go and register their business, just so that they can stand in a designated spot within the train station, for example. So there's these barriers to entry that I think are overly cumbersome and burdensome, and are barriers that are too hard for young people to get through.
But the flip side of that, you did say they largely unregistered. Some may say that any business needs to be registered. Do you have a thought on that?
I think that the reason for businesses being registered is obviously so that we can get some tax income, and we do need tax for the country to function. So I understand that argument, but in a situation where we are at, where young people are having to choose between putting food on the table or looking for work, where the homelessness rate is increasing, and the latest survey shows that the reason for that homelessness is largely because of unemployment. I think we're in a crisis like that. We have to focus first on getting people earning, particularly young people, and then we can worry about the legalities and registration and all these other bits and pieces that will then flow naturally. But we have to start with the crisis at hand.
And is there a way to ignite this informal economy that you're talking about? So clearly, many of us who've been to stations and bus stops and these taxis that go to townships are very aware of the goggle selling apples outside. We're all aware of that, and the fat cook and everything else. But you're saying that's not enough. More needs to be done, right? Do you have any thoughts in terms of how that can be done?
I think we can look at increasing the access for tax incentives for businesses that are formal, because this draws money into formal businesses within the township economy space. Once money is in that township, you see then there's a ripple effect to the informal traders in that township as well. Currently, as it stands, if you speak to people in townships, they'll say money comes in on a truck and gets put into an ATM and then gets spent in your ShopRite or your Checkers or your big kind of corporate, your Boxers or whatever, big retailers are there, and the money goes back into a big corporate. I think we need to think about, supporting the local businesses better. And when money starts flowing like that, it becomes much easier for informal traders to have a customer base. And then I think we need to also look at the restrictions, as I've mentioned. We're based here in Cape Town. We know that the Western Cape has some really rigorous restrictions around informal trading. And I think we really need to unpack where those restrictions are necessary for community safety and oversight, and where they're actually burdensome and are getting in the way of stimulating local economies.
What is your overall thoughts on those high unemployment numbers that just been released today, specifically skewed then to young people? What are your thoughts overall, and what does that mean for youth morale, perceptions, and their investment into their own futures?
I think it shows that despite all of the effort and lip service that have been paid towards job creation and youth employment over numerous political speeches, both by the ANC and other political parties, we continue to fail to shift this needle on youth unemployment. And I will keep coming back to the fact that what we've said at Youth Capital, and we say it every time the stats releases these numbers, is that there just isn't enough of a grouping of solutions. What we have is a one-size-fits-all approach, and that's never going to tackle the crisis. We need public employment programs. We need support for the informal sector. We need young people to be able to access skilling pathways and the funding through NSFAS to be able to do that. There's no either or. It is a complex beast. We have to be attacking all these things at the same time.
And now just about 2 months or so into this new government, that we've got this multi-party government of national unity. I'm using all different phrases. Do you see any signs of a complete rethink and innovative approach to the issues you've just raised?
I think it's encouraging because there's a lot of new energy. We at Youth Capital presented to the Standing Committee on Appropriations, and already there was many more questions than we had previously gotten presented to that committee. And so I think there's an energy within Parliament, because all political parties are trying to prove their worth now that they've got a shot. and that's encouraging. But we really need to see some sort of implementation plan about how the GNU is going to achieve its goals. We know that, stimulating inclusive economic growth is a key objective of the GNU, but how is this going to be done? And so we're really waiting with bated breath for some kind of plan about how these different parties are going to agree on a way forward and a way that gets us out of this crisis.
All right, we'll leave it to you. Waiting with bated breath. Crystal Duncan Williams, appreciate your time. Project lead at Youth Capital. By the way, there's this for the comments on some of the issues. We've got the problem caused by political power play and the lack of care for Gauteng citizens is the reason for breakdown of service delivery, and this will cause disinvestment and capital flight from Young from Gugu Lechu. And there's a couple more. Ashraf companies make profits, so they also falsify their financial performances. They always say they are making just a little bit of profit. I mean, that's one part of it. And the other one, Ashraf, that word guy must walk the talk and reduce his minimum wage issue. Okay, that's another comment. Right, so let me tell you, we've spoken to Khalif Hendricks from the Al Jamaa Party. We'll get another different response on that from one of the organizations and people who are behind the move, not so much a political party, behind the move to call for the resignation of the mayor of Joburg. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. ANC to reclaim Joburg mayor position, an emergency meeting over Mpox outbreak. Good day to you. The ANC in Johannesburg says there's always been an understanding that the position of city mayor belongs to the party. This follows the party's announcement that it will field its regional chairperson and current member of the mayoral committee for finance, Dada Morero, for the position of mayor of Johannesburg this week. The current mayor, Gabela Gwamanda, submitted his resignation to the Speaker of Council following engagements with the ANC and minority parties representing the government of local unity. The ANC's Deputy Regional Secretary, Luisa Masuku, says the party is reclaiming its rightful position.
The minorities and all parties have always had an understanding that the position of mayorship belongs to the African National Congress. So that is why in the statement it is very clear when the RS reads it that the executive mayor has agreed to host discussions because of also our framework that has led us to this particular juncture. So there are no guinea pigs. We're not snatching any position away from anybody. We are taking our rightful place as the leader of society to provide services to the people of Johannesburg.
The DA in Gauteng is urging a swift probe into the deaths of 4 learners in separate incidents. This after 3 siblings from Everton Primary School in Sebokeng, south of Johannesburg, died after allegedly consuming pap, milk and biscuits at home despite receiving immediate medical attention. In a separate incident, 2 grade 8 learners from Sekane Secondary School east of Johannesburg ingested rat poison on school premises, resulting in 1 death and the other being admitted to hospital. The Gauteng Department of Education has confirmed both incidents. The DA Sergio Dos Santos.
The Democratic Alliance extends our condolences to the affected families involving 3 learners from Everton Primary School and 1 learner from Tsukane Secondary School. We call a thorough and urgent investigation into the deaths of the learners. The DA will conduct oversight inspections, visit the families, and question the MEC of Education, Matume Chalwane, on the circumstances surrounding these tragic events.
Disgruntled residents of White City and Soweto have taken action closing down foreign-owned shops in response to the assault and shooting of a local resident. Community member Poshen Kwazi.
We are going to every Pakistani or Somalian shops and asking them to vacate. There's no one is loitering, just that they're being asked to pack their things, pack their groceries and leave. So we'll be going around White City for now and then move to Mfulo.
The bail hearing of 2 men accused of manufacturing and dealing in drugs has been postponed to Tuesday next week in the Groblersdal Magistrates Court in Limpopo. The accused were arrested in an illegal drug manufacturing laboratory in Groblersdal 3 weeks ago. They were arrested together with 3 Mexican nationals who've since abandoned their bail applications. The Hawks say the accused were operating a drugs lab which produced drugs worth more than 2 billion rand. Clean-up operations are underway in Malmesbury in the Western Cape after 3 dam walls burst last week, causing havoc for the community. The tragedies displaced about 200 people. Swartland Municipal spokesperson Marie Haasbroek.
We do know that the water infrastructure has been severely affected, and in some parts water pipelines have been completely washed out. With regards to the community, we still have 94 people staying in 2 centres, and we are caring for them through the assistance of donations as well as gifters or givers. We make sure that they get 3 meals a day, and we're also helping out with sanitary products, clothes, blankets, that kind of thing.
Senior health officials in Central Africa are holding a meeting to declare a public health emergency over a new fast-spreading variant of Mpox. There have been tens of thousands of cases in the DRC and the Central African Republic since last year. The BBC's Dominic Hughes has more.
Since the beginning of this year, there have been a total of more than 14,000 cases and more than 450 deaths, the vast majority of them in the DRC. That accounts for more than 95% of all cases and 97% of all deaths this year, but spreading to other areas around. The Africa CDC will declare an emergency for the continent, and it's basically saying it's a public health emergency of continental security. They want to mobilise resources, they want to provide technical assistance to affected countries to help control this outbreak.
The top story, the ANC in Johannesburg says there's always been an understanding that the position of city mayor belongs to the party. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Goos.
In sports, Smith ready to roll up her sleeves. Box make 11 changes and excitement grows as CAF Enter Club 2024-25 season kicks off on Friday. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 westbound in Alberton has a crash before the R59 Reading interchange. The M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown interchange. Eskemper-Hleli Drive northbound in Pretoria is queuing towards Mabopane Highway. In Midrand, the N1 northbound is slow moving towards Samrand Road, and the N1 northbound has a crash after Buccleuch interchange. In KZN, South Coast Road has truck congestion reported between the M7 highway and Bayhead Road. Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. The N3 westbound has a stationary vehicle reported after Pavilion Shopping Centre exit, and Bayhead Road has truck congestion reported towards and from the Bluff. In Cape Town, the M7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound is slow moving towards the R300 highway. The N1 outbound has a crash at Okavongo Road. Stellenbosch Arterial Road eastbound is slow moving towards Nooiensfontein Road. Victoria Road outbound is slow moving through Woodstock, and the M3 southbound queuing towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So much happening on the show. We've had that fascinating conversation with South Africa's silver medal winner, Bayanda Walaza. We had it earlier on, a really great one. Listen to it as a podcast. You really enjoy that. Yesterday, you may be remembering that Bridget had a chat with the new Miss South Africa. Listen to that as a podcast. And today's show, tonight, that is 8 p.m., listen to Chief Justice Zondo. He's on the Viewpoint with Nkaba Mabete coming up from 8 p.m. So lots to talk about. But let's get to one of the big issues that we have to cover today. It's one of the issues that clearly moves the National Pulse. The resignation, some may say finally, the resignation of Kabelo Gwamanda as the mayor, the executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg. So earlier on, we chatted to Hanif Hendricks, and you can listen to that podcast as well. Just go to safm.co, you'll find it. So we spoke to him, but let's now speak to Mark Haywood, a member of the Joburg Crisis Alliance Steering Committee. Mark, appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so the mayor Kabelo Gwamanda's gone, you got what you wanted.
Yes, it's very welcome news that came through this morning that the mayor was stepping down. The Johannesburg Crisis Alliance and others have been calling for his resignation for quite a number of months now. And the fact that he is going creates a new opportunity for this very important city of Johannesburg to find leadership that is capable and committed to addressing the many, many problems that have kind of seeped into Johannesburg, the rot that has become part of Johannesburg, and refixing our city. So it's an important day, and we hope that it will signal a new dawn for the city.
So what about Kabelo Gwamanda's leadership or lack of leadership contributed to this rot that you talk about?
Well, look, if you look around Johannesburg, if you drive around or walk around Johannesburg, you see streets which are decaying, you see water leaks which are unattended to, you see people struggling with electricity tariffs that have suddenly been imposed upon the poorest of the poor, you see the breakdown of the infrastructure. On top of all of that, you see a city council which seems largely missing in action, aloof from the day-to-day problems of people, and mainly serving itself. You know, Johannesburg has a budget of something like 80 billion rand a year. That's a lot of money for the city. But instead of that money being used to address the day-to-day problems of the city, hundreds of millions of it gets stolen, and the people are left to kind of fend for themselves. So, you know, the idea that former Mayor Gwamanda or outgoing Mayor Gwamanda has provided leadership and stability to Johannesburg is just a joke. He may think so, but I don't think that very many of the residents feel that.
So they claim, that's him and his party, Al Jamaa, that he's provided a clean audit, that in fact they've attracted investment in the city, keeping in mind there's been a deficit in terms of the city, not a money deficit, a deficit in terms of service delivery going on for a long time. So they claim in the relatively short time they've been in charge, in fact, they've delivered.
Well, they do claim that, but the facts don't bear them out. And again, I think the best way to judge is just by what you see and what you feel. If you are a resident of Johannesburg, it's best measured by the flight of investment out of Johannesburg. This is a city in crisis. There's nobody saying that it's not a city in crisis. And certainly that crisis didn't start 14 months ago or 16 months ago when Mayor Gwamanda was appointed, but it certainly hasn't improved under his leadership. And people are crying out for decent leadership in the city because Johannesburg is the economic hub of South Africa. If Johannesburg fails to attract investment, if Johannesburg falls apart as a city, then it has a knock-on effect not just into Gauteng but across the whole of the country and in fact across the whole of the region. So we have to prioritize good governance, good leadership in the city.
So I hear you, and I'm trying to get balance in terms of understanding what is actually going on here. Certainly, I'm a citizen of the city of Joburg. I'm aware of the decay, but I'm also aware the decay in terms of, potholes and poor water and other issues has been going on well beyond 1.5 years. It's probably gone on for about 5 years, and you've seen that, right? So as I try and understand talking to you, how much then do you apportion to the mayor? And when I say you, I mean we as citizens. How much of responsibility do you allocate to a mayor to determine the success or the failing of a city?
Well, a mayor is a bit like a president of the country. You require a mayor to be a person of integrity. You require a mayor to be a person who leads by example, who has experience, who can inspire collective leadership. It's a leadership position. You can't blame everything on the mayor, but if the mayor is weak, then things fall apart around him or her. There is a mayoral committee which we also hold accountable for failures as well as for successes, and we have to blame all of the political parties that sit in the Johannesburg Metro and the Johannesburg City Council, because this mayor comes from a party that had 3 seats. The parties are playing games amongst themselves, and often those games are more related to how do they maintain proximity to tenders, proximity to power, than calculations about who is the best person to fix the problems and the challenges of this.
Well, you see, it's interesting you say so. I mean, obviously, I've been privy to the posters going on in the last 2 weeks about protests. I mean, and valid protests, because I'm affected by that. But what set them apart was the call then to say the mayor must resign. And I found it very strange to say, why not a call for the entire mayoral committee to resign? And in terms of your grouping, this alliance, the Joburg Crisis Alliance, to the best of my knowledge, there's never been a call for the entire mayoral committee to resign. Why not that?
Well, speaking personally, and remember the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance is an alliance of about 80 organizations with slightly different perspectives, but with a common understanding that we face a problem in this city. I do think that we must hold the whole mayoral committee. I think we must hold the whole council to account, and we must demand better of them going forward. There's no question about that.
Yeah, but I'm saying therefore that in when I say again your committee's statements, it doesn't reflect that. There's an attempt, and I'm saying, because I've said so publicly, the mayor, for the record, doesn't inspire confidence to me. So I've said that already. But I'm also saying there's been an attempt to suggest that he's the problem and nothing else.
Well, no, it's wrong to suggest that that the problem can be simplified in that way. It's a complicated city. These problems have been building for a long time, but as I've been trying to say, the mayor is the leading figure in this city. The mayor is the person that you look to for leadership, and that leadership has not been provided. We now look to another mayor, and we will ask the very same questions of that next mayor. We will evaluate that next mayor by whether this city turns onto a trajectory that is forward-looking and sees improvements, or whether we continue to stutter and fail.
Okay, I understand that mayor could well be Dada Morero, who's been the man put up by the ANC. We'll see what happens on Friday, right? Now, one case in point, on the issue of that tariff that so irritated many of us, including me, 200 or 250 rand for the prepaids per month. I understand the ANC leadership has really gone on record to say they can't change that, because that was set up actually before that, and they need the money. So that's one classic example where they can't change anything. Things could well continue.
Well, the call that the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance has made is that tariff increase needs to be reviewed. We're also saying that if you look in the budget of Johannesburg, that money can be found in other places, and if you eliminate corruption, you can probably free up tens of millions of rand. But we're also saying that, to impose a tariff increase like that on people who are the most vulnerable and most poor, and expect them to fill the deficit that is faced by Johannesburg Power, is unfair and probably illegal. So it needs to be reviewed, whoever is in power, because we have to solve this problem.
Going forward then, how would you solve the problem? It's clear, and I'm saying, and again, I've said this just now as well, that the problem is beyond the two consecutive mayors we've had. In fact, it transcends all the different political parties, ANC, DA, of the previous years, right? So the problem is massive. Because, for example, the hijacking of buildings in Hillbrow, Joburg Park, that's been going on for years, right? What, therefore, is your solution in terms of what needs to happen?
Well, the first thing that needs to happen is that we need open, accountable, transparent government. We need a city council that informs the population, the people who live in the city, about its policies, about the basis for its decision. We need a city council that works out what are the priority problems that need to be attended to as a matter of urgency. And we need a city council that is willing to work hand in hand with other parts of society, including civil society, in addressing those problems. We need a city council that eliminates the corruption that exists within its rank. We need a city council that carries out the recommendations that have been made by the Special Investigative Unit in multiple investigations into different aspects of Johannesburg City Council. That's really what we need. Ashraf, I'm not pretending that a city as big and broken as ours can be fixed overnight. But there's a way of doing it, and there's a way of not doing it.
So how much time would you give the new leadership before you call for their resignation?
Well, the Johannesburg Crisis Alliance will be fair. The first thing that we will look for in the new leadership is precisely these leadership criteria and capabilities that a person with a track record, a person who has no allegations of corruption hanging over their head, a person who's shown a willingness to work with all the stakeholders in the city, a person who puts the problem squarely on the table and says, this is how we're going to work, then space will be given. But we have to see a commitment. We have to see a political will to dig Johannesburg out of the hole that it's in.
Here's a final thought. I mean, considering, and I understand where you're coming from in terms of Joburg being in a crisis, but some may say South Africa has also been in a crisis for a long, long time. Like considering, I mean, the whole list of names you alluded to, but I mean, 2 or 3 comes to mind: the Rabonia Circle, the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation, and Outer organizations that have had a strong stance on issues of human rights and accountability, and they've now, some may say, rightfully called for the resignation of the mayor. By extension, some may attribute so many of the failings of the country, not the city, to the leadership of the country, which would start with Cyril Ramaphosa. So my sense would be to say, okay, let's see what you guys do next. Should the call then be for the president to step down as well?
Well, look, we're talking and looking at Johannesburg at this moment in time and what needs to be done to fix Johannesburg. The way our constitution is structured, the way our local government is structured, is enormous power, including enormous resources, are put at the disposal of constitutional structures, municipal structures of local government. So it doesn't make sense to say, fix Joburg, fire the president of the country. It does make sense to say, fix Joburg, fire the mayor of Johannesburg if the mayor is not doing their responsibility and carrying out their duties properly. Ashraf, there's no doubt that the ANC in Gauteng, in this province, in this city, has a huge responsibility, as do other political parties. But our focus at this moment in time has to be on the solutions and getting the quality of leadership that is required to fix this city.
And clearly you believe that the firing of the mayor, or the resigning of the mayor in this case, is solution one. Let's see what happens. Mark Haywood, it is complex. I certainly agree with you on that one. Mark Haywood, Joburg Crisis Alliance Steering Committee member. What do you make of that in terms of that conversation, your comments, and the earlier chat with Hanif Hendricks from Al Jamaa, and the solutions for the city of Joburg? Does it start and stop with the mayor, or is it much, much broader than that? We chat to Pali Lahotla after this.
Our brand new Miss South Africa 2024 is Mia!
It's interesting, the fact that the girls never get to sleep after being crowned.
It is true, but I also believe when we did Crown Chasers, it also gave us a sneak peek in the life of being a Miss South Africa. So I believe we all, when we came back after Crown Chasers, we knew what we signed up for. Okay, you might not get a lot of sleep, but your purpose and your why has to be stronger than your fatigue.
Oh, I like that. Your purpose and your why have to be stronger than your fatigue.
Yes.
I'm going to write that somewhere. I'm going to use that as my mantra every day. Your purpose and your why have to be stronger than your fatigue.
Exactly.
I love it. Mia LaRue, first ever Hard of Hearing Miss South Africa.
You are listening to The Full Circle. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Right, let's get into other issues of importance. When we talk about South Africa, we certainly talk about South Africa's scenarios, where the country is now, what does the country look like tomorrow, the next day, what does it look like in 2030? What about 2035? Now, you may be aware, we often chat to Pani Lahotla, the former statistician general, but specifically he makes reference to the Indlu Lamiti scenarios. So they've just published a new book detailing what they call realistic future trajectories of South Africa by 2035. So Pani, good chatting to you once again, as always.
Hi, good day. How are you?
Thank you very much. Okay, so I suppose,
yes,
first of all, how often do you change these scenarios?
They change on circumstance. For instance, how we moved from the Indlu Lamiti, where we were talking about Gwara, and now coming to talk about the riverbed, was a consequence of the effects of COVID, as well as the deepening corruption that we saw in the country. that the lens through which we are assessing has shifted, so we have to actually change the way we look at the future.
Okay, so what is sparked up this latest? What is sparked up the latest change? Is it this unique new form of multi-party government of national unity, or is it before that?
Well, it came well ahead of that. I mean, we are talking about this as early as 2020 and 2021, as we are actually having just gotten the scenarios of Naila Walk, Gwara Gwara, and Isibujwa. Now, in that period, as COVID took root, and then we saw the deepening problems of the economy and so on, we realized that the situation has actually changed. And that's how we came with the naming of the weaver bed, the vulture culture, and the Hadida. Because we could see that the circumstances are changing.
Hadidas are getting into my garden near my pool. I'm aware of that. What then? So give us a snapshot of maybe key scenarios. Maybe, I don't know how many you have. Maybe list 3 or 4, and then we'll talk through that in the 5 minutes we have remaining.
It's 3 scenarios basically. The Hadida bed, which is the noisy democracy, the nation that is always in consternation. The vulture culture, where the politicians are eating the nation up. And then, of course, the weaver nation, where there is collaboration and there is progress. Those are the 3 scenarios that we are looking at.
Okay, take us through maybe each one. What does that mean?
What the vulture culture actually means is a deeper notion of the Gwara Gwara state. You remember we had the Gwara Gwara nation, which was a nation that was in confusion, that was immobile and everything. The deepening of that is when corruption becomes institutionalized and politicians actually eat each other up, eat the nation up. The weaver nation is where the nation begins to work together, awakening from this nightmare and moving forward as a united South Africa. Whereas the Hadida is really the blame game and a nation that is very, very noisy, but also in a way that is an outgrowth of the Isibujwa nation. I mean, a neoliberal democracy.
Okay, so when you list these 3 scenarios, it's a scenario that what are you saying? That's what will emerge in 2035, or is that what we have now?
These are the possibilities that we are saying will emerge, and it depends on how we act ourselves out towards each one of those scenarios. For instance, when we started this scenario building in 2016, we said there's Gwara Gwara, there's Isibujwa, and there's Naila Walk. We actively worked ourselves into Gwara Gwara, shamelessly so. And that's where we are at now. If we don't wake up now, we will actually work ourselves into a vulture culture. And it's a matter of how intentional we are in our actions. We may not intend doing so, but our actions actually define how intentional we are. So there is a possibility of a weaver nation, but it all depends what policies we craft, how we act on those policies, and how we deliver on them.
So in terms
it's not something that will just fall.
Yes. I mean, I hear you. So you're saying it's a scenario, and that's why it's called that, and it may emerge, it may not emerge, right? As part of this review there, or this forward planning, do you then provide suggestions and solutions to government? Because not every scenario is favorable, as you know, so you'd want to avoid the unfavorable scenarios emerging. Do you then provide advice to the government for them to read, take in, or ignore?
Well, let me say the following. We had the scenarios on the Gwara Gwara, the ones that we crafted in 2016. We came with these 3 possible paths, and we presented this to different communities, to government itself. They were launched by the president himself then. Well, we chose Gwara Gwara Nation. So you can take a horse to water, to the river. You can't force it to drink. And that's what has happened with the 18 scenarios that we have.
So government, So you're saying government ignored you? And
absolutely.
Are they obliged to listen to you? They're not obliged to listen to you, right?
No, they're not obliged to listen. Yeah. But of course, they are obliged to deal with the consequences.
How do you make it, and assuming certainly, and you're part of a grouping, of course, but certainly coming from your own background as head of stats, there's certainly there's clout that's well beyond just a soapbox at Hyde Park making a noise, right? You have the stats to back it up. Why do you think they would ignore someone like yourself?
Well, I don't think it's ignoring. I mean, there are a number of things that I think in my assessment. One, it's ignorance because people are ignorant, so they can't grasp complex issues. And obviously, if they don't have the capacity to do so, they may well be well-intended, but if they don't have the skill and the ability to deal with those, it's a problem. They may not have goodwill to do so, which is, of course, then the heads are in the wrong place.
Okay, we want to news time.
Hearts are in the wrong place.
We want to news time now. Just one soundbite to leave us with going forward. What would you want to see addressed now?
I think the weaver bed scenario is the best option. The president has referred to it, but history tells us that don't refer to it and like it. Be actively engaged in making it happen. Otherwise, we will actually end up with the vulture culture.
Okay, and we don't want a vulture culture. Thank you for your time. As always, Padi Lehotla referring to the Indlu Lamiti South Africa scenarios for 2035. In fact, I'm going to get them to tweet it out as well. We can maybe share the findings. I think it's that important. Let's get the news headlines now. Here's Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines. The Joburg Crisis Alliance acknowledges that the resignation of Kabila Gwamanda as the mayor of Johannesburg is a critical moment for renewed commitment to better governance. The body of an 18-year-old learner has been found in the Vol Dam in Gauteng by police divers, and Hamas says it's fired 2 rockets at the Israeli city of Tel Aviv. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Linbro Park has a crash near Marlborough Drive. The M1 southbound is queuing through Crown Interchange towards Boysons. Heidelberg Road southbound in City Deep has a crash before Pitt Street. Old Johannesburg Road northbound in Centurion has a crash near Panorama Road, and the N4 Witbank Highway eastbound in Pretoria has a crash near Watermeyer Street. In KZN, Bayhead Road has truck congestion reported at South Coast Road. South Coast Road has truck congestion between the M7 Highway and Bayhead Road. Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park, and Chris Hani Road westbound queuing at the N2 Highway. In Cape Town, the M7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is slow moving towards the R300 Highway. The N2 outbound is slow moving towards the R300 Highway. The M3 southbound is queuing towards Rhodes Drive, and the N1 outbound has a crash reported at Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Khapele.
So, tell me, lots of talk about Tatiana Smith saying, that's it, green and gold, no longer, but where does she get placed next?
Well, she says that she's ready to take up an advisory role to unearth more talent now that she's retired. In back-to-back Olympic Games, Tatiana Smith has returned with 4 medals, 2 gold and 2 silver, and is the only South African athlete to achieve gold in both. And she's been in the sport for 22 years, and in this period, she says that she's seen a number of promising swimmers who couldn't make it, all due to a lack of resources.
I definitely do think that we lose a lot of, in terms of swimming, we lose a lot of people in that gap. So there's always a massive gap where we fall short, and I think it does obviously come from a financial side. Sport is expensive, and the living cost is expensive. So you really have to have that backing as well to be able to get to places where you can get to those experiences, to be able to go to international level and race there. We can't be on a local level and then all of a sudden perform at international level, but it's
Well, talking about finances, she's been involved in the Operation Excellence program for the past 6 to 7 years, where basically SASCOC allocates funding to athletes to help them prepare for the Olympics and World Championship events. And some athletes have seen the good and the bad of this program. And she says a lot can still be achieved in sport in the country.
Obviously, we want to encourage that there is more done into sports and that we get more people and more representation into the teams. It is definitely something important, and I'm grateful that I'm on the other side now as a retired athlete, and I'm here to have a voice for athletes as well. I like representing athletes. I don't like representing myself, but I am here to try and represent them, because I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other in how we can grow and how we can make it better, because I've experienced it. I've very gratefully been able to win the gold medal, but I had to face a lot of things to get there, and I think we can avoid a lot of things for future athletes to achieve amazing things. So
in rugby, Mornay van Berg and Ruan Norkia will earn their first test starts in a Springbok team that has 10 changes to the starting lineup for the Castle Lager Rugby Championship clash with the Wallabies at the Optus Stadium on Saturday. Salman Murat will captain the team from the lock, while regular captain Siya Kolisi is one of the 9 players from Saturday's win who is rotated. Now, Marco van Staden is promoted from the bench to take Kolisi's number 6 jersey, while the only players retaining starting places include Cheslin Colby, Jesse Creel, Sasha Feinberg, Mgomezulu, Elrich Lowe, and Peter Steph du Toit, who moves from lock to flanker. The changes to the team were motivated by Springbok coach Rassie Rasmus's desire to continue finding the balance between building momentum and expanding squad strength. Then in football, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Mangoba Mngqithi says that he supports the club's decision to only give captain Themba Zwane a short-term contract. The Downs fan base has been divided over the announcement, as some feel that the midfielder had done enough to be given more than a year. But according to Mngqithi, he says that it will help keep him very competitive. Meanwhile, the chase for the Continental Glory officially gets underway this week as CAF kicks off the much-anticipated CAF Interclub 2024-25 season with the preliminary rounds of the CAF Champions League and Confed Cup, with that first leg taking place from the 16th to the 18th of August, and then the return leg from the 23rd to the 25th of August. Title holders Al Ahly, Esperance, and Mamelodi Sundowns are among the highest ranked clubs exempted from the first clubs in the CAF Confederations Cup, including holders Zamalek, who are also exempted from the first preliminary round. Elsewhere, West Ham have signed right back Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Manchester United on a 7-year contract. Now, the deal is worth around £15 million for the 26-year-old, who was in the final year of his contract at United. He began his career at Crystal Palace before joining United back in 2019. Then in cricket, former England player Ian Bell was named as Sri Lanka's batting coach for the 3-match test series against England. Sri Lanka's cricket said that the 42-year-old former right-hand batter was hired to draw on his experience of playing 118 tests for England. In tennis, Iga Swiatek expects a tough return to hardcourt tennis at the Cincinnati Open, but the top-ranked poll said that she will not heap pressure on herself and approach the WTA 1000 event like a practice tournament before the US Open. She last played on the surface at the Miami Open in March, then went on to win titles on clay at Madrid, Rome, and French Open before crashing out in the third round of the grass courts of Wimbledon. On that note, it is a wrap from my side.
Here's a question. Maybe do some research and we'll talk about it tomorrow. So I'm only interested in democracy. Whatever we did in the Olympic Games before democracy really doesn't actually interest me. Okay. But from democracy, or the 92 Olympics Barcelona, which was like semi-democracy, all those medal winners, the whole lot of them, what are they doing now?
I'll give you the answer tomorrow.
You've got a whole day to research. I'd love to know. Thank you.
Oh, that's it.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
All right, let's get to the markets with the SAFM market update with Jimmy Moyaha. As always, Jimmy, you got some interesting thoughts on I have a new option besides Vodacom, MTN and Cell C. What is the option?
Absolutely. Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to our listeners. The option is called C Connect. They're a new mobile network operator that's just launched today. I've got a conversation with their chief operating officer. We're going to see how their product differs from what's already in the market and why you should probably consider them. Alongside that, we've got conversations around the latest jobs data or the jobs numbers that we saw come out today. You already touched on that briefly. We're going to take a look at that with an economist from KPMG, trying to understand where the pressure is within the economy, how we get more jobs back into the economy rather than losing jobs every quarter, and how we can improve the situation. And then we've got a conversation with the DBSA, the Development Bank of Southern Africa. They released their annual results today. I went to the results presentation. I had a sit down with their CFO, and I've got a conversation with the CFO a little later on to just understand how the bank has been performing, where they are focusing projects, what sort of capital they are looking to raise, and how their involvement in our global or in our South African economy can be a catalyst for growth and a catalyst for investment. And then because it is a Tuesday, we've got our agri feature this week, Tuesday. We're taking a look at the concept of regenerative farming. We're trying to understand how it works, what it involves, and whether or not we can afford to do it. Before we get to that, the markets have had a good day. We take the wins where we get them. It's been a good day for our local equities as well as for our currencies. But let's start with some international news first. Asian markets were largely mixed, with mainland China being the only market in the red. That was down 0.15%. Hong Kong was up 0.28%. Sydney was up 0.1%. The Nikkei that was closed yesterday has returned to a green day, trading up almost 3% today. In European markets, the CAC 40 was down 0.1%. In France, the Germany DAX was up 0.3%, while the FTSE in London, which was the best performer yesterday of the European markets, was only up 0.1%. US markets at the moment are still trading, with the Nasdaq up 1.7%, S&P up 1%, and the Dow up about 0.5% or just a little less than 0.5% at this stage. They obviously are going to be trading into the evening, so those numbers could still change. If we look at some South African movements, the SA market was in the green on all fronts, which is something we don't see very often. Industrials lagging behind. They were up only 0.1%, but they were in the green nonetheless, with resources up 0.2% and financials up 0.9%. This meant that the all share closed out 0.5% in the green, the top 40 up 0.5% as well, and some of the counters that had really exceptional performance on the back of that as well were the likes of Home Choice gave us their results today. They were up about 12% off the back of those positive results. DRD Gold up 4%, Sasfin up 4%, Renogen up 4.6%, obviously still coming off of the highs that they saw yesterday as well. They announced over the weekend, sort of last week into the weekend, that they are finally producing liquid helium. So the share price has been doing really well over the last 2 days there. Merafe gave us results as well yesterday. They're still up about 4% today. Anglo Gold up 3%. And Cash Build up 2.8%. Some companies that didn't have such a good day, not too many of them, but if we look at the likes of Adcorp, they were down 7%. Met Air was down about 4.5%. If we look at PPC, they were down 2.5%. Ark Invest was down around 2.4%, with Exaro down about 1.9%, just under 2%. We've got results from Exaro later in the week that we'll be digging into with the executives from Exaro. But if we look at currencies quickly and see what's been happening there, the Rand has been strengthening against the dollar, gaining a bit of ground, about 1/3% there. It's at 18 Rand 17 cents for $1, at 23 Rand and 30 cents for £1, and 19 Rand 89 for €1. $1 will cost you exactly 12 Rand. If we look at the commodities movements, the gold price holding steady, $2,467 an ounce at the moment, up about 1/5%, with Brent crude etching higher, $81 $80.16 a barrel, a lot higher than the $76 we saw a couple of days ago towards the end of last month. If we look at platinum pricing, $942 an ounce, palladium $923 an ounce, still both under $1,000 there, but we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll keep an eye on the other developments that we'll be reporting on a little later on. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Listen, before I let you go, give me your idiot guide soundbite to what is it? MVNO. What is an MVNO?
MVNO, Mobile Virtual Network Operator, like the C Connect that's launched, like Cell C that's launched. And in a nutshell, it's effectively a network operator that's able to render the services of a Vodacom, an MTN, or any other network operator, but without the heavy infrastructure requirements that come with that. So they leverage off of other companies that have infrastructure, and effectively it makes them a more nimble operation. It means they don't have to incur any cost to maintain heavy infrastructure, things like telephone masts and the operational generators that come with supporting those masts and all of that. So all of the infrastructure that underpins the communications networks does not sit with them to be able to maintain or to operate, but they get to leverage off of it, and it makes an easier business to work with.
Okay, now we know. Let's have more of those tomorrow. Thanks for your time, Jimmy. Enjoy your show coming up after 6 o'clock. By the way, Chief Justice Zondo as well coming up as a guest on SFM at 8 o'clock on The Viewpoint. Don't miss that.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, let's get to some of the others. You may be aware of the story following the youngster by the name of Reza Saluji, in fact, a young boy, head boy of the Greenside High School, and he's been missing for 2 days after being at the Vaal Dam, right, or Vaal River. Understand now his body has been found, so clear confirmation that he's passed on. Really sad issue. Should have been starting his exam today as the head boy of the school, but sadly then has passed on. The other issue, did you watch the Donald Trump conversation with Elon Musk on Twitter? I believe there were huge remnants, lots of issues, about 20-30 minutes of silence, but the numbers, I understand, were astonishing. Let's see if I can get those numbers to you just now. Let's get to some of the other issues we've been talking about, including the Mayor of Joburg.
Ashraf, good afternoon, man. Flores here from the Western Cape. Ashraf, what a massive responsibility for a mayor like Commander, whom I think does not have lots of experience, and especially with a massive budget here, like I said. But in any event, being a politician, man, it's a stressful job, but if you know how to play your cards, then it can be quite lucrative. But yeah, I'm listening to Hanif start playing the blaming game. Man, this is really part of politics. Always blaming the one next door. Have a good show. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I tell you what, many are saying that conversation with Hanif Hendricks was rather complex, as I suppose in a different way was the same with Mark Haywood too, right? Unemployment.
Good afternoon, SAFM. Unemployment in South Africa is seriously becoming a problem. How is it possible that so many people in South Africa is unemployed? How is it possible? This comes from Terence.
Well, Terence, if you want an answer, I'm not the president. I mean, I think, yeah, we need an hour to talk about it, and yeah, something has to be done. Here's another comment on the Joburg Mayor.
Hi, Ashraf. I hope you're good. This is Austin here. Look, on the issue of the Johannesburg Mayor, as to do I say yay or nay, I don't care. I don't care who is the mayor of that municipality. I've had it. I don't care. They can put a chicken for all I care. If that chicken can do the job, it's fine. I just want results. I mean, things are falling apart in the municipality itself. You don't get services or responses. It's just a whole mess with all these good English-speaking people that we keep on getting every now and then, but nothing works. So I don't care. We just want results. That's my take on this.
I don't care. Can be a chicken. Just do the job. Here's another one on the mayor.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners. I will urge Mr. Kabelo Kamanda to embark on a journey of lifelong learning. he must continue to study, train, and develop himself to become a future executive leader of our country. And he must continue to do good and provide a basic essential services to the community of South Africa. I close my case. Thank you.
I close my case. I rest my case. There's a picture from Sipho Sithole. Of course, we had him as a guest here a few weeks ago when he was back in South Africa. There you are in the gym. Looks like he's got a Comrades Marathon top. I'm in the gym in my apartment building in Washington with my headphones listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Great. Thank you for that one. Here's another one. Afternoon, I'm Zulu from Mount Frere. I regret voting for the MK party. I thought it was a genuine party with a constitution, only to realize that this is a Zuma family business. We are being fooled. And there's even more. It's a Betway gambling in the Joburg mayor. It's cash in, cash out. What a gamble with the society. The only mayor we have is these people calling for motions of no confidence for no reason. Brian Mumbai. I don't know whether there's no reason, but it's just it is very complex. I do believe that the call should have been for everybody. Ashraf, what's killing our economy is the influx of foreigners, especially in the townships. Foreigners are not spending their money back to the economy. Instead, they're using it and sending it to respective countries. I'll tell you what, you may be right to a degree, but to think that can have the impact of killing an entire economy, it minimizes the big businesses who are in the formal economy. What has happened to them? It's got to be far more complex than just simply saying one or two foreigners or even 100 foreigners are doing just that, right? Okay, there's a couple of more comments on Al Jamal. Let's see if I can read that just now. But today is the day for left-handers, so we'll talk about the complexities they face right after this.
From 1936 to the future, from Ekaya, Ekas, to Jozi and Urkan to the world, from dance and poetry to stages filled with our hopes and dreams, from SABC radio stations to cross-border triumphs, from drama, comedy and heart-pounding sport to raise our flag, from culture and spirit to the streets where talent is grown, from generation to generations and the shows that kept us entertained. So, what are you waiting for? Kumbule Kaya. SABC has always been home to our joy, stories, and Msanti's magic. Come home to SABC Plus, still home to the best of who we are.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
20 outfits of the Premier League are back on the battlefield for another spectacular season, with ambitions to play the world's most competitive and compelling football.
Rodri! City 3! West Ham 1!
This is the massive fight for the ultimate glory.
Caicedo, is he going to try and beat him from inside his own arm? Oh, Moises Caicedo! I can't believe it! What a way to score your first Chelsea goal!
Experience the 2024-2025 Premier League season on Saturdays at 3 p.m. live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
So, did you know that today is World Left-Handers Day? Now, while we celebrate that, it's also time to talk about the responsibilities and the complexities that they face. And I say they because I'm a right-hander, but I can tell you now my father was one of 8 brothers, and I think 6 of the 8 were left-handers. And we have another left-hander in the studio here, so there we are. That's amazing. Anyway, what are the complexities they face, and how do we talk about this and deal with that issue? So, Mahlochanono Mabue is with me, a left-hander, board member of the African Left-Handers Foundation. I never knew there was one called a Left-Handers Foundation, but now I know. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Ashraf, and good afternoon to the listeners and to you.
Thank you. Right. So, first of all, what are the numbers? What's the percentage breakdown between righties and lefties in the world?
You know, Ashraf, while the world says it's 10%, I don't believe it. I believe it's more than 15 or so, because like anyone who's in the closet, sometimes people think that being left-handed is an easy process, and yet in some places you have to be in the closet to not be known to be left-handed and fake being right-handed. So they say 10%, but the numbers are growing by the moment. Some say 15% of the entire world population.
Okay, so 10, 15, I mean, it's thereabouts. So my father's family of 6 brothers out of 8 lefties, I mean, that's an amazing number, right? Now,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, and I say you because you're one of them, do you have unique issues to deal with that right-handers don't even consider?
Absolutely. I'm going to start with simple and everyday things. You know, you take a pair of scissors, you cut, easy street. You take a can opener, you open, no big deal. For us who are left-handed, it is the opposite direction. So what you see as an easy action for us is not an everyday action. I'm just taking it from there. So already there are gadgets that are not working for us, instruments in the music industry, right-handed. This morning when we were celebrating the day, someone said that when you are playing a violin, you have to hold it with your left. Can you imagine when you are left-handed, what do you play with? So is it music? Is it sport equipment? Even equipment in the industry. That's why sometimes there are accidents in the industry, because a left-handed person is expected to use a right-handed tool, and they are not able to navigate with it effectively. And more so just with the children. Let me go to the children, because we are also engaged, we have engaged UNESCO about this matter, and even University of Johannesburg. You know, it is not just an automatic to write with your left hand, because we are writing in the opposite direction sometimes from how you would be writing as right-handed people. So you'd see left-handed people as though they are small, they call us slow learners, whereas we are the most brilliant people and the most creative people, just because we are going the wrong direction for us, which is right.
Is it a case of, I mean, I understand that so much of it is made for the benefit of right-handed people because that's what the market dictates. So, I mean, should there be a move, because whether it's 10% or 20%, the numbers globally are substantial. Should there be a greater drive to ensure that these alternatives are always available?
Absolutely, and that is what we are driving. That's what we are purporting for as African Left-Handers Foundation, and now even in partnership with CERT, which is Center for Education, Rights and Transformation at UJ, University of Johannesburg. We're saying let it be the order of the day versus something that is unique or something that is expensive, because buying any equipment, changing any gadget for a left-hander is exorbitant in some places. So that's why we're saying let it be as everyday as somebody being right-handed.
What's a government position regarding this?
We are now activating engagements. Now that we are also having government of national unity and there's new leaders, we have started the process afresh. Yet there are those that are amenable, because I'm saying, firstly, normally people are like, left-handed, what is the fuss? Until you say to them, do something with your left hand, and they're like, wow. And it's like, that is not even the fact, that's the reality. So we're engaging government, we're engaging even institutions where we're going to have to capacitate even educators on how to help left-handed children, even with writing. And we're saying policies have to be in alignment. Left-handedness is a human rights issue. It's a UN issue. That's why we even have a left-handers charter that were placed at the door of UNESCO. And we're even saying that International Left-Handers Day should actually be recognized by the UN, like other.
And you've put out that challenge. All that leaves me with is to ask you this: if somebody wants to be part of your left-handers activism, how do they connect with you?
We actually have a website and contact numbers, so they're able to connect with us through the website. Actually, through the website is even easiest, and they're also able to see the work that we are doing. And even when they want to contribute, to give donations, they can be able to contribute through the website. There's a cause already, so there is.
Okay, what is the website address?
The website is Left-Handers Foundation.
Okay,
African Left-Handers Foundation is one word.
Okay, African Left-Handers Foundation. Thank you for that. Let's leave it to you to continue playing the left field. I'm sure you understand exactly what I mean. Matlochanolo Mabue, the left-hander and board member of the African Left-Handers Foundation. Before we wrap up, I see Kwena's posted a picture. Kwenna, I only see this now. My apologies, saying, Ashraf, it's on this hectic day working, and guess what? It's my birthday. Please, love you all. SFM asked me to sing for me. Well, she's gone, and I'm a lousy singer. But I will tell you, happy birthday, and I hope you've had a splendid day. And thank you for being connected to the National Pulse, because in one way or the other, you, I can tell you, do make a difference. In fact, every one of you around the country, around the world, listening in to the show makes a difference. Good evening, Ashraf, SFM host listeners. You know, my 3-year-old son uses both hands, but it seems like the left hand is his strongest, and my mother, his grandmother, calls it a monkey's hand, and she's trying so hard to train him to use his right hand. Should we allow him to use both hands, as I see it as a unique characteristic from confidence from Cape Town? Well, listen, don't ask me. All I can tell you, well, I'll tell you this much. From a cricket point of view, if you're a left-handed cricketer, you're amongst the most stylish, top cricketers in the world. There's a good chance you have an added advantage more than others. That's all I can tell you. Well, thanks for the team. Thanks to you. You're part of the show. You drive the National Pulse every single day. So thank you for being a part of it. We'll do it again tomorrow. You can continue even now to post comments after the show on SFM Radio on Facebook, as well as on the X platform. I believe 1.3 million people listened to the conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump on his Twitter space or X space yesterday, and there were some gremlins as well. So add your comments, feel free to connect with me as well. Just tag me at Ashraf Garda too. In terms of what comes up next, it's a busy show. There's sport, as you know, coming up after business, and then we have the interview with Chief Justice Zondo coming up on The Viewpoint from 8 p.m. Listen out to all of that. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Reaction to the resignation of Joburg's mayor and rockets fired at Tel Aviv. Good evening. The Joburg Crisis Alliance has acknowledged that the resignation of Kobela Gwamanda as the mayor of Joburg is a critical moment for renewed commitment to better governance. It says his resignation highlights the urgent need for a leadership that truly prioritizes the needs and concerns of Johannesburg's residents. The Alliance's Julius Kleinhans.
We need responsible and accountable and transparent leadership that can turn things around. And we also hope that the political will be there to actually engage civil society and business to ensure that everyone's got buy-in and that they can play their role in turning things around in the city. We need